Hello and welcome to another MovieBoozer.com virtual Pubcast. I'm your host, Ken Ekman, and are you up?
Did I wake you up? I'm awake now. Yeah, that was thoroughly as powerful as 2 cups of coffee, at least.
Oh, yeah. So I'm joined here by Bill Arsenault, as you just heard.
Hey, guys.
Hawk Ripjaw.
Hello.
As you just heard. And Bill Leon, who may or may not respond when we pause dramatically for just a brief moment here. He'll be joining us in a moment, I'm sure.
He's currently doing the Monty Python people who are hiding skit. How to hide.
How to not be seen.
How to not be seen. That's what it's called, yes.
In this picture, there are 47 people, none of which can be seen. Yes.
Will you please stand up?
He's learned the first lesson of not being seen, standing up.
Yeah, right.
I better stop now because I can literally quote that sketch like word for word. I mean, it's Monty Python. I own the series, and I used to go to bed watching those shows like every night. So anyway, so the house that Jack built, you guys saw that. Tell me about it.
Well,
shoehorned in intro.
Okay, all right. That was a pretty quick intro. I saw the movie like maybe a month or so ago when it had its one night only unrated extended director's cut.
Extended by 1 minute, right?
Something like that, yeah. But it was apparently footage that the MPAA wanted stripped away. And on top of that, the MPAA felt like it was a irregular screening, like it had actually been done outside of their rules. So much so they were thinking of like I don't know, not like prosecuting. I don't think they could do that, but
like fine them or something, or penalize them in some way.
Penalize them in some way, yeah. But
I figured out why they did this. Why they were so upset is because basically the IFC had not received approval to screen the unrated version, and with the unrated version releasing in close proximity to the R-rated version, it kind of nullified the effectiveness of the MPAA system, because by releasing both versions of the film in close proximity, there would be difficulty with the audience in differentiating between the two versions.
Oh, so somebody pitiful MPAA.
I know, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, but basically, they were upset because it kind of just nixed the reason for that system to exist. I mean,
they were butthurt.
You just exposed us. He just exposed us.
No, like that. I guess it kind of makes sense. But as a result, the unrated version available for streaming will not be available until June. It will only be available for purchase. That's kind of the agreement they came to. That's the penalty to IFC for having done that. So, needless to say, I saw it. I saw the R-rated version.
Okay, so I think I talked a little bit about the House of Jack built when I first saw it. I'd like to know what you felt watching the opening and from then on.
I've honestly been interested in this movie since I saw the first trailer because I like serial killer movies, especially when they get into the psychology, and the idea of Lars von Trier, who is a very psychological director, getting into the mind of a serial killer, also played by Matt Dillon. And all of it kind of sounded like something that I would want to see.
Yeah.
And of course, there's the standard incendiary, controversies like, oh, mass walkouts at the film festivals. Like people hate Lars von Trier's house that Jack built. And
the thing is, people were walking out of Cannes, but at the same time, at the very end, they gave it a standing ovation.
Yes, and that's a great way to describe this movie because it is very revolting, but it is endlessly fascinating for me.
Yeah.
The opening scene would have been Cameron Diaz, right? Not Cameron Diaz.
Uma Thurman.
What if Cameron Diaz played Uma Thurman's character?
I don't know if Cameron Diaz could play the biting bitchiness that Uma brought.
No, not at all.
Not that Cameron couldn't try. Just I'm saying that variation that Uma did was particularly biting. And she's like, you don't have the guts to do whatever. And then he just takes that jack and just smacks her in the face with it.
Yes.
Crushes her skull in. Yeah, that was crazy.
this movie is so weird. It's definitely a Lars von Trier movie. It is probably the most Lars von Trier movie, if I'm thinking about it. But it's 2.5 hours long. It has really not a whole lot of killing. It only has 4 instances of murder, 3 or 4. And in between these are Jack, having these conversations with an unseen character named Verge, played by Bruno Ganz. And is it Gans or Gans?
I say Gans.
Okay,
I think it's Gans, but
maybe it's Gans. I don't know. It really doesn't. Yeah.
This character's name is Verge, and they have these conversations about art and philosophy and history and genocide, and it's weird, and all of this kind of ties in to the mind of Jack and what he's doing. And the thing that made it fun for me is that it's also feels very introspective on Lars von Trier's part. But the thing about Lars von Trier is that he might just be fucking with us, and it's not introspective at all. He's just kind of making it like that to make us think about it.
Well, it does kind of relate to, I think, the art aspects of the conversation he has with Verge, and also the appreciation of art and the fact that he's building a house and stuff. Like he's almost like the director of the house or something, but he can never quite finish it. That could be representative of von Trier being a filmmaker, but the killings are like a side thing in his life, and that's the one thing he's actually good at. So maybe it's like, I don't know what Von Trier is trying to say there. Maybe he's not trying to say anything at all. Maybe he's just trying to fuck with everyone.
Right, that's what I'm thinking too. But it's I think pondering that is what makes the movie interesting. Yeah,
he definitely, I think, identifies a little bit with Jack, but at the same time hates Jack. So maybe but knowing this also, you need to know that Lars von Trier is very, very much a depressive person.
Yeah, they had to drag him out of his trailer during the filming for Antichrist. I mean, not physically drag him, but like he was hard to get out of bed during the filming.
Yeah. So he might be like a self-loather in a lot of respects.
I would say
whether he deserves it or not, that's what I would say is probably accurate. And this could be his own. He doesn't like psychotherapy or psychiatry, that kind of stuff. He's very critical of that. Yeah. But this could be his own way of doing it by himself. You could argue that filmmaking is that version of it to him.
Yeah,
and
there's a lot of clips in this, like very short clips from all of his several of his past movies.
There's particularly some clips from Antichrist and Melancholia that he shows, and then he shows clips of like Hitler and stuff like, well, of course, because the whole Nazi thing, and he was like, I'm a Nazi, and Khan is like, what?
And he got banned for a couple years.
And it's like, well, I'm not really a Nazi. I just said that,
It's weird. Knowing the more you know about Lars von Trier, I think the weirder this movie gets, because it's got so much. There's so many different ways that someone could interpret it, and it's not like it's that nebulous. It's in the way that it's put together. It's just kind of one of those things where, well, I feel like Lars von Trier might have been saying this, but you'll never really know. You can only know as much as you think you know in terms of what he's. What his message is for this movie.
Yeah, and the even more interesting thing is that he casted Matt Dillon, he brings his own charisma, to every role that he plays, just about. But his charisma is very unique because it's hard to like. He's very full of himself. He comes off, usually that's the persona he plays, like someone who's genuinely fucking with you. Yeah. I'm just going to be Mr. Cool, smoke my cigarette, and tell you the story. Yeah, And here he has a little more depth than that. I would say this is probably the first time I've seen him play a role with this kind of depth since Factotum, where he played the Charles Bukowski character.
Mm-hmm.
Henry Chinaski, that was the name of the character, the alcoholic writer. And in that movie was a personification of Dylan's, public and personality and his genuine charisma. But here in this movie, it's played up tenfold because he has to basically find ways to kill people. He has to sneak into a woman's house somehow or convince her to let him in, which is like the film's only comedy scene. I guess
it's not the
only. Maybe not only comedy scene, but it's definitely a slapstick kind of scene. Because
but so there's also, I thought there's a lot of comedy. There's the one where he kills somebody and he goes out to his truck or to his van and he keeps thinking he might have missed a blood spot.
That's the woman that he tries to convince to let him in the house.
Right. Yeah. That whole vignette is pretty silly, but also really fucked up.
It's fucked up because he just killed someone and he has to, but it's funny because he's OCD. And it's like, how do you reconcile those two things? You're going to get caught, And meanwhile, the movie, things escalate and he gets even more disturbing. And he only picks like 5 moments from his murderous rampage over the course of these years to tell The Verge. And the first one was assumingly his first kill. And then he goes from there like, okay, this was another early one. This is one from my middle time, and so on and so forth. And I know things get rather deep and dark when he starts murdering children with a sniper rifle. And yeah, I know, right? But what got me wasn't so much that he did that, and you could see the cut in the film when he actually shoots a kid in the head. That it wasn't a kid anymore; it was like a doll or something, or a CG, animation.
Yeah.
You could see it when he cuts to something else, So it's like even Von Trier's like, okay, I'm not actually going to put a squib on a kid's head, But the disturbing part, and this may have only been for my unrated version that I saw.
It's not.
Oh, you did this next part's in there?
Yeah, I saw Mr. Grumpy.
Mr. Grumpy, yeah. Basically, he's keeping all these dead bodies in a freezer that he owns, a big walk-in like meat locker that he owns in this like abandoned warehouse, and he's keeping all the bodies in there, so they're all like stiff and everything. And he's putting the kids up. He kills 2 kids and a mother, and that he took out on a hunting date or something. Which is kind of a weird date, but whatever. He's like, I'm going to teach you kids how to hunt. And then he's like, now you're going to run for your life, bitch, that kind of thing. Jesus. And I know, right? And so it's like you're just dreading that turn. But what he does is when he's in the meat locker with these kids, the kid has already turned into rigor mortis has set in. So he has to manipulate the body in like very vicious ways. He has to like use hammers and tools to manipulate the body and turn it into an art piece, which he eventually does. He makes it smile. He like puts stuff in the eyes, and
I didn't see all that. I just saw the him moving it a little bit and then the end result.
Oh no, they go into deeper detail in the cut I saw, and that got really gross. But not that you saw any fluids or anything like that. I'm just saying like it just went on.
Yeah,
it didn't stop. And so throughout all these stories, he's like, oh, I'm also an architect. I want to build a house. But he always has, he tries perfecting the designs, but he always restarts. He can never get it right. Meanwhile, he's constantly racking up the kill count. And
I think I'm not sure. Tell me what you think about this. Is through these, he keeps failing at building this house, and through all of his kills, pretty much every single one, he should have been caught.
Yes,
he never is.
Yeah, he really should have been. And this kind of goes into Von Trier's feelings about the world and about nature itself.
Right.
Like in Antichrist, for example, and even Melancholia, he says that the world is basically evil and uncaring and towards suffering.
The house that Jack built is a celebration of the cruelty of life or something like that.
Or some shit like that.
Celebration.
Something about life.
I wouldn't say it's a celebration so much as it is his statement that that's just how things are.
Well, he called it a celebration.
Well, maybe he calls it a celebration.
That was his wording. I'm not saying I agree with that, but that was his. I know his wording was it's a celebration.
I didn't see the movie as celebratory.
No, not at all.
Or even exploitative necessarily. I mean, maybe a little bit, but if it is, what is it exploiting? You know, it's really kind of straight. You know, in terms of the story it's telling and everything. It's a weird story, but it's it's not necessarily playing with the audience in terms of, are you going to root for Jack? And it's like, well, no, he's a fucking murderer. But in my screening, some of the Jack's kills got laughs.
Right. I didn't laugh.
I was disturbed by, well, not kills, but the attempts to kill. Specifically the first one. I mean the second one, the one where he goes into the woman's house and pretends it's a cop and then an insurance agent, and then
that was funny. Yeah,
that was funny, but he was still murdering someone. And
well, the actual murder I didn't think was funny. I thought that one almost made me. That was one of the most uncomfortable ones for me, to be honest.
Right, because you stick with this woman's face and you have to keep going back, and that kind of thing. And then by the end of it, he's dragging the woman. Her body is being dragged by his car on the road, and so to the point where by the time he gets back to his meat locker to put the body in, the face is gone because it's been dragged on the street, and the big blood line, the gore line from his kill scene to that traces all the way back to the warehouse has gone away because it just started raining, and that's where he starts excelling in the fact that the world is very indifferent.
Yeah.
There's no, justice. And there's even another scene where he's talking with the only woman he really ever considered like a girlfriend. He's telling her he's about to kill her, and he's like, "Go ahead, scream all you want. It's not gonna fucking matter."
Well, yeah, and he even screams with her.
Yeah,
and then he reaches out the window and yells, "No one wants to help," and which is it's the bystander effect. That's a psychological thing. Nobody does. Everybody. In the midst of a crisis or somebody in danger, everybody is waiting for somebody else to do something about it.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it, but the ending, the ending delivered. Like all the reviews were like, "Oh, the ending is crazy," but we're not going to tell you what it is.
The ending is crazy, but I do agree that it delivers, and it's also like a exclamation point.
This movie is a hard dunk on toxic masculinity. Like Lars von Trier clearly has no sympathy for men who find themselves superior to women.
Yeah, and it's interesting. There's a moment in the ending of the film, which is an extended sequence where it's revealed what he's doing with Verge.
Are you talking about the painting?
The painting?
It's not a painting, but there's a shot that evokes that.
Matte painting? Oh, I don't know about that.
They're in the boat?
I'm talking about when he sees people working the land.
Oh yeah.
And a little tear comes out of his eye. And at first I thought that's a little stupid, but then I was like, this is the only moment where this character shows like genuine human connection to something that might be, beyond killing people and being superior and stuff.
Yeah.
Like he's almost thinking back to his own innocence, perhaps. But then I was like, well, fuck this guy still. He doesn't get to have that ending, Right. And of course he doesn't get that ending. He ultimately falls into a pit made of his own egotism. And the movie's end credits killed me.
Oh yeah. So actually, you told me I would guess the song. I didn't guess the song. I thought of a different song, but the one that they went with made more sense than the one that I was guessing. I thought it was going to be "Highway to Hell."
No, they played a much more obvious song. Do we want to spoil it for him?
Go ahead. I'm probably not going to have a chance to see it.
And don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more.
Yeah, they play it throughout the very end. Like it's the shot. The colors get it switches to a negative. I don't know what the term is. Like it switches to negative colors where it's everything is like white and dark blue or whatever.
Yeah. Film negative.
And then a hard cut to the credits and Hit the Road Jack just kicks in. I don't know. It basically ends with Jack. I enjoyed the movie a whole heck of a lot, but I really
Yeah,
I had an interesting time watching it. I mean, I sent a top 10 list to a different publication that was asking for one, just as a kind of like a small like bonus thing for their podcast on the Cinemaholics, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And The House That Jack Built was my number 9 on that list. I don't know if that'll be the same case for Movie Boozer's list, because I've still got a few more films to watch this year, but it's definitely one that has stuck with me more than most of the movies I've seen this year. And when I rented it off of Amazon, I ended up watching it a second time just to kind of take it all in. On a cinematography level and a filmmaking level, it's so fascinating how it's shot and put together and edited.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
A crazy movie. Like at one point, he's so full of himself, he's like out to buy bullets to play this vicious game with a bunch of people. He's like, I want to see if a bullet can go through a bunch of skulls at the same time. You know, like an Indiana Jones. You know, and so he goes to buy a very specific rifle bullet. And he's at the counter and he opens up his wallet. His wallet is made of the boob that he tore off of the woman that was his girlfriend.
Jesus Christ. Fucked up.
And he had like, preserved it and made it look, like a wallet. And we don't even focus on it all that much. He just pulls it out. He's like, yeah, that's my wallet. It's like an offhanded thing. To me, this would be like a symbol of shame or something. But he's like, no, it's just my wallet. Whatever. Here you go. Here's the money. See you later, Jack. Whatever. And then he goes to do his thing, and the one guy's like, "That's the wrong bullet." And he's like, "Oh fuck!" So he goes back and tries to get the right bullet. Then he gets almost caught, and Verge comes in. I don't know, a lot of stuff happens. So, yes,
it's a lot. Yeah, Ken, you should. Ken, I think you'll be revolted by it, but
you will.
I will, if I can find it, because I don't know where
it's on Amazon.
It's on Amazon rental, but only the R-rated version. So Bill saw the unrated. I saw the R-rated.
Yeah,
or is rated, I guess.
So, do you know what the scene is that they extended?
I'm really not sure.
The rigor mortis scene, and I'm sure like there's more graphic. Well, tell me if I'm wrong, Bill. Probably the breast cutting scene is shown, right?
They don't show the entirety of it. They just show maybe halfway through cutting it off.
Okay, I didn't have that on my version. He takes the knife to her and then it cuts away.
Oh, okay, and then he throws the boob on the cop car.
That was in my version. Yeah,
the cop that tried to stop, or not stop, but he was interested in what they were talking about.
The cop that didn't stop.
The cop that didn't stop, exactly. And he throws it on his car like "fuck you,"
Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, I was a psychology major in college, and I'm big into psychology, so that was the biggest draw for me, is how the different avenues of psychology that are explored in this movie, especially how Jack plays with people. Like when he's about to kill his girlfriend, she runs down and tries to warn a cop, then he chases after her and acts like they're both drunk and he was just kind of being a dick, and he's sorry for it, and she knows what he's doing, but she can't do anything about it because the cop believes the man instead of the woman, which was, kind of a fucked up scene. Just what it was insinuating. But I don't know. I've really been thinking about this movie.
Yeah,
yeah.
Quite a topic.
We revolted Ken quite a few times by recounting a few scenes, and he was like, "Oh God."
The thing is, hearing this out of context and not seeing the movie, all I can think of is how disgusting they could potentially make it. And I know Lars von Trier is someone who does not mind being transgressive, so
it's probably not as bad as your imagination is making it out to be. I would say that if you've seen Hostel, it doesn't get worse than that.
Well,
I don't know. Some of the images here,
Hostel,
some of the images in the House of Jack built get pretty fucked up, So, but a lot of it's the suggestiveness of it.
Yeah, very suggestive. It's kind of, I don't know. It's a movie that definitely fucks with you a little bit.
Yeah, well, in a lot of it.
A lot of it, yeah. Anyway,
All right. Well, we'll go ahead.
What are we talking about next?
Oh, Bill Leon's chimed in.
Yeah.
Hi, Bill Leon.
Hello.
All right.
Oh yeah, I didn't get to say hi to everybody. Hello.
We were talking about the house that Jack built, and then we're
I was listening to the whole. I was listening to the whole conversation. I was just.
And now we're going to talk about the movie that Clint Eastwood made. The Mule.
Oh no!
Don't know until you hear it. What I have to say.
Film that Clint made.
By the way,
I'm gonna love it.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and stomp on what you just said and simply say,
no, I don't.
This is Clint Eastwood's best movie since Gran Torino.
How many has he made? Like 2?
He's made a couple, like American Sniper,
American Sniper, and Jersey Boys. That's it.
He's made a shitload of movies since Gran Torino.
17 to Paris.
Yeah, that movie too.
Which I kind of want to watch just to round out my worst of list for the year. It was last year.
That was the early bit of last year, yeah.
Okay.
Of 2018, yeah.
Oh, 2018.
Yeah, it was the early part, but no one really remembers it because it happens like in February or something.
Sucks.
That too, possibly, but
I look at American.
I've heard things about the Mule, like he has threesomes in it.
So
I'm like, as an old man, or do they show like him as like a younger man?
So let me get into this a bit.
Clint Eastwood, 90-year-old, gets 3 thirsty 20-something prostitutes.
So first of all,
okay.
First of all, The Mule is it's based on the true story of a guy named Leo Sharp, who was a World War II veteran who was in his mid-late 80s when he became a drug courier. Yeah, and this is something that actually happened. Now, the movie highly fictionalizes the story because the truth of any true-to-life story, of course, is probably just, dull. But in this case, Clint Eastwood plays his character basically is a elderly flower shop owner who's really into his flowers, like in a big way, to the point where he's putting his business before his family. And I'm
so into flowers.
He puts his business in the flowers.
Yeah, no, he puts his business in his flowers. Yeah, he might. Maybe that's his secret because he's into horticulture after all.
I'm into horticulture.
Emphasis on whore. So,
right. He's into horticulture too.
Yes, he actually is. We'll get to that. So anyway, he's basically at his age. He's kind of eschewed his family for years, and his family just, other than like his granddaughter, who still kind of has some faith that he's, that he skips on everything, and in the process of doing this, his business goes under and he's short of money, and now he doesn't have any family to go to for help. And so a friend of his kind of just offhandedly suggests that he, if one thing he likes to do is drive, and he has a good driving record, and he can hook you up with someone who will allow you to drive and make money. And
he's like, so what? I do an Uber?
Well, he pretty much knows what's going on from the beginning. He's
pretty smart.
He doesn't bumble into anything. He knows damn well that there's no way that they're going to pay him money to drive something legally at his age.
So I'm just driving a bunch of pecans across the border.
Long story short, he becomes a mule for the Mexican drug cartels.
Yeah.
And he's damn good at it because he is a good driver. He doesn't do stupid shit. And because he's an old man, the cops don't bat an eye when they see him on the road.
Yeah.
And
it's a good cover, yeah.
Exactly. And Bradley Cooper plays a DEA agent who's trying to find, trying to take down this cartel, and they become aware through a through a snitch that there's this one specific mule who is getting bigger and bigger jobs because of how good he is. And so Bradley Cooper's trying to hunt this guy down. So anyway, where this movie succeeds is it doesn't focus all too much on, it's not about action or anything. It's more about this poor son of a bitch who's really like kind of wasted his life on something that, something that's gotten in the way of people and family. And he's trying desperately to find some way to make ends meet. And he chooses a life that, has some very attractive benefits to it. I mean, and this is where we get into the horrors.
It's got some face candy to it.
So there are so basically what happens is the cartels know that he is, really good at what he's been doing with acting as a mule, and so they assign a handler to follow him, and they give him really big loads, like giant loads of drugs to take with, and in doing that,
loads.
Yes, okay. Loads of drugs.
Some ropes, if you will.
Ropes of drugs.
Okay, so now you're getting into
greasy strangler territory. Yeah.
Yes. So anyway,
you might be my forever lover.
So anyway, while he's starting to live large to an extent, he buys a better pickup truck because he had a beater that wasn't working. And yes, beater. My attempt at making a sex joke didn't work. So
wait, whatever. Is he actually an abuser?
No, I that's not what I meant by beater.
In the movie, I mean, I don't mean it in real life, but
yeah, no. They insinuate that he's just an asshole, basically.
Oh, okay.
And when I say asshole, they don't really backpedal that. He really doesn't get why family. I mean the whole family thing. Of course there is the typical movie thing where he does start to kind of realize that he's fucked things up, but it happens naturally. He goes through an emotional change in a believable way that I think really fits the movie. Honestly, this is Clint Eastwood's best character for a long time because he kind of reaches for it. His character is not necessarily, he puts on airs of being a badass, but really he's just kind of a guy who doesn't give a fuck and a bit of a douchebag. And there's moments where he tries to be tough, but really he's just kind of a stupid old man who fucked up his life. That's really how it plays it, and it's really Clint Eastwood normally plays unequivocally
tough characters, tough and rough,
right?
Yeah.
And he gets his ass kicked in this movie a couple times. So that's
well, I want to hear about the prostitutes. How does this because this has always confused me whenever I've read reviews like, oh, he has a three-way, and I'm like, wait, what?
Okay, so you're an old man and you still have the capability of getting it up, and you've suddenly come into money. I mean, come on.
Put two and two together. Yeah. Okay.
You do know that one of the biggest problems in retirement homes is actually
yeah, right.
Sexually transmitted diseases.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, those folks go at it in the retirement homes.
Isn't that amazing when you think about it? Like there's just so much potential for danger with that.
I don't know if I'd use the word amazing, but
no, it's amazing in the term of
it's amazing for them. They've worked their whole lives, and they're
well. You're looking at the positive side. I'm looking at the negative side, where it's like there could
the disease part is not amazing, but
not just disease, but like rape and horrible abuse, and by the patients, not just by the staff. And,
that's when you start getting to the dark side of it. But I just find it refreshing that there are people at that age who still have amorous feelings. It makes one feel good about their own personal future.
If it's genuine and stuff, that's fine. But But anyway, so you were saying something about he's getting bigger and bigger loads of drugs.
Yes, and eventually he he gets to the point where the one of the kingpins wants to meet with him because
Andy Garcia.
Yeah, and Andy Garcia plays one of the drug cartel leaders, and he flies Clint Eastwood into his estate, and just to meet with him face to face, and he treats him to a couple of prostitutes at the same time.
Oh.
But the funny thing is, this is not the first time he's got a couple of, because like early
in the movie.
Earlier in the movie, he's just like at a hotel and he brings in a couple prostitutes. And the thing is, they make it clear that he's a sexual being, because early in the film, like, he checks out a girl's ass and you're like, oh, okay, so yeah, he's still there.
Dirty old man. But let me ask you this, like, because I'm trying to picture how the scene plays out. Like, do they just suggest it, or do they actually show stuff?
They don't show any actual sex. Clint Eastwood is not on top of any girls or anything.
Damn it! Or behind any girls or anything like that.
This movie.
Okay, so just close your eyes and like make noises with your mouth like this. Yeah, and that's what happens in the movie. No,
I don't understand. What are you talking about? The lights are out?
No, I was trying to gross out Hawk, but
like put your fists in a mayonnaise jar and just go in and out, make that noise.
Oh God!
Yeah, but there's a pickle in the mayonnaise jar.
There's a pickle in the mayonnaise jar.
Well, it's shriveled up, all right.
Oh God!
No, you do not see Clint Eastwood's dick.
Well, I wasn't thinking that. I was just thinking we were going to see like him behind someone. You know what I mean? Like, that's usually the easy position for someone his age to, but or laying down or something like that.
You can rest assured that Clint Eastwood does not show off his.
I was hoping for a time lapse of fucking like in Fargo.
Oh yeah, like they do a little bit, then they watch TV, then they do a little bit, watch TV.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like a Clockwork Orange, it starts blasting like Beethoven, and then suddenly
and it's all synced together.
Yeah, no, that doesn't happen. So
it's just suggested. Okay.
So this is a solid drama, well acted.
I want to hear more about Clint's dick.
Yeah, tell me about the fucking.
Yes.
That's all I care about in this movie.
No, actually, I am really interested to see the mule. So I want to hear more about because Clint's got a good. He really has a good eye for stories and for filmmaking. People don't give him. I don't think people give him enough credit for his soulfulness, really, in storytelling.
I would tend to agree. I think here's my opinion of Clint Eastwood as a director.
Yeah, as a director.
From a directorial standpoint, he's not a director who's going to necessarily like rise above material when the material isn't the greatest. He likes to work, and I think that's what keeps him alive and keeps him going is working.
Yeah,
because he does work constantly. And what I think is he doesn't care if the material is mediocre or not. He will make the movie. But if he sees potential in the movie, he has a knack for getting the best out of actors, because having been an actor himself, I think he sees empathy for that. And so movies like $1 Million Baby or Mystic River, if you've ever seen Bridges of Madison County, fantastic movie.
What about Sully?
I enjoy Sully. I thought it was a solid drama. I'm not going to say that it's one of his best movies, but let me put it this way. He found a way to make a compelling drama out of a single like incident that took less than 10 minutes to actually occur from beginning to end.
Yeah.
And
that's something. Yeah.
I found that interesting. And as far as that, if you haven't looked at his back catalog of films he directed from the 1970s and 80s,
he's directed some crap. Yeah.
Well, no, he's directed. Yes, but he's also directed some excellent movies.
Yeah, no, not crap. I want to. He's directed movies that are probably like beneath his level, but he's directed them, and he did them because they're fun, and he wants to keep working. You know, that's what I meant.
I'll give an example of one of his movies that's heavily maligned, but I completely understand why he made it. Space Cowboys. Is that a good movie? No. You know what that movie was?
Yeah. Old people in space.
It was old people in space, but you know what it was? It was Clint Eastwood getting a chance to hang out with a bunch of his friends. I mean, Tommy Lee Jones, Donald Sutherland, and James Garner.
Yeah, it's a version of an Adam Sandler movie, yeah.
Yeah, and I get it. But unlike Adam Sandler, though, occasionally Clint Eastwood does make good movies. And guess what? Is Space Cowboys a good movie? No, but it's watchable. I would argue
like Adam Sandler's movies are like, oh, hey, me and my friends are going to vacation to Cabo and make a movie. And Clint Eastwood is like, fuck you, we're going to go to space.
And by the way, as I was saying, Space Cowboys is not a good movie, but there's some humor in it. It's got some clever moments. It's not god awful. You know what it is? It is a hotel room. I got 10 minutes to kill movie. You put it on, and
so I'm gonna have a three-way with two Mexican hookers.
But and I will say, Clint Eastwood also has directed one of my favorite horror movies, Play Misty, for me.
Oh,
yeah. If you've never seen his debut as a director, it was a direct attempt for him to unwrite his bad boy persona, which was around at the time. And so he basically it's a ex-girlfriend from hell nightmare horror movie where she's the tough one and he's the wuss.
Okay.
Yeah, excellent movie. And then the movie of his that I can't recommend enough to people is White Hunter Black Heart, which is a very thinly veiled account of they change all the names and the name of the movie, but it's basically a movie about the making of the African Queen. And he plays John Huston, except, as I mentioned, they change all the characters' names.
Oh, right. So he's, right.
The story behind it basically is John Huston, when he made the African Queen, was very focused on shooting and killing an elephant while he was shooting in Africa. And he delayed the film's, like, the start of production to the point where, like, everyone was there. The actors, the cast, the crew was all there waiting for him to get back from his fucking hunting trip. Yeah, and so Clint Eastwood has and the screenwriters behind it basically took a premise of what would that have been like.
Let's just wait for the director to fucking kill something.
Exactly. It's a dark movie, but it's also interesting because the movie makes you like him, and then it gradually makes you realize what a dick he is. Anyway, so the Mule, highly recommended. As
there's a great shot in the trailer that I just absolutely love. It puts chills down my spine. It's when Clint Eastwood's outside of a diner. It's just a quick shot, and he looks out of his peripheral. Then he turns around, and there's Bradley Cooper.
Oh, yeah,
coming up behind him. Oh no, Bradley Cooper! Ah!
What's interesting is the trailer makes it look like it's a tense scene, and there is tension in it, but it's actually the tension is cut slightly by the fact that Clint Eastwood's character in this movie, while he's a dick, he's those people who, if you only meet them briefly, you think that they're really cool, but the longer you get to know them, the more you realize that they're not really the nicest person.
Yeah.
So he has a lot of people who are friends of his that don't know him very well. The people who know him all can't stand him. That's what's fascinating about it. And so there's, in that scene, he and Bradley Cooper are in the diner for a brief period and chatting and, perfectly cordial.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what's interesting about it. Anyway.
That's the Mule.
So, yeah, that's the Mule. So now we'll just quickly cover Mary Poppins Returns. I don't have much to say about this movie.
Mary Poppins? Sherry Bobbins?
Harry Poppins. Yeah,
well, that's from The Simpsons. Sherry Bobbins.
Yeah, have you seen the first Mary Poppins?
Yeah, of course.
Wait, what? There's a first Mary Poppins?
Yeah. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is more of that, but it dragged out to 2.5 fucking hours.
Oh, Jesus.
Why do they have to do that? Keep it at 90 minutes. God.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's not quite 2.5, but it feels that way.
Lin-Manuel Miranda's feels. Wait, is that his name?
Lin-Manuel Miranda. He's an actor in it. He had nothing to do with anything else in the movie.
I thought he wrote the music.
Did he?
I think so.
I don't think he had anything to do with the music. No, he did not. I have it right here. Song lyrics by Scott Whitman and Mark Shaman.
The shaman.
Mark Shaman.
The way they wrote this is a little confusing. Yeah, he sings. Lin-Manuel Miranda does sing, and in fact, he sings
Shaggy Too Dope,
the intro and closing music. Here's the thing: it's not a bad movie by any means. It's in fact charming. For like the musical sequences are very evocative of the original film. The story, the basic story behind it is an entertaining enough film. But if you want a movie with British whimsy, see Paddington 2. It's shorter, it's better written, and you don't have to pause for an extended musical sequence every 10 minutes. That's the thing. The first 3 or 4 musical sequences in this movie are great, and then they just keep happening, and the song quality drops very highly. You start to realize that they must have not had a whole lot of good songs to fit in this movie. Meryl Streep shows up for some reason. I'm not sure why she's here. I do say the one thing I will say about Lin-Manuel Miranda in this movie is he is basically, while Dick Van Dyke makes a quick cameo in this, Lin-Manuel Miranda is effectively the Cockney replacement of Dick Van Dyke. And I find it fascinating that they, much like Dick Van Dyke was known for fucking up an English accent in a crazy way in the first movie, same thing happens here. Lin-Manuel Miranda puts on the most corny fake British accent, and I can't help but think that was his tribute to Dick Van Dyke. Yeah. Anyway, that's really all I got to say about that. So,
all I got to say about that.
Yeah. I mean, if it comes to streaming and you're in a Disney-ish mood,
Watch Mary Poppins Returns with music from Shaggy Too Dope.
God damn it. That would be amazing.
I would love a Mary Poppins movie that was scored by ICP.
Fucking magnets. How do they work?
Actually, come to think of it, that's a perfect way to segue into a fantasy sequence. So yeah, there you go.
Oh yeah, well that whole music video, that was the rainbows thing.
Anyway, so color painting with all the colors of the Faygo.
The Faygo. What is with those guys? Those guys are like into wrestling. They're into weird rap.
Didn't they say at one point they're like, "Oh yeah, we're Christian," and
well, I'm sure in their regular life they probably are, but I mean,
no, they're straight up. They're like, "Yeah, we're Christian, and our music is kind of like a way of delivering our message through a means of like." I'll have to look it up and send it to you, but it was
not that part. No, I can appreciate
that they
Christian
said that because they like to say fucked up things.
Yeah, I can appreciate if they're Christian at home, but no, their music is. I don't see it as being spiritual at all. Maybe it purges their emotions, but I don't think they're getting across a Christian message. There was one song they did where they talks about killing his girlfriend because she fucked his homie.
It's an allegory for taking her to confession.
Oh, is it really? Okay. He gets into really dark territory in that music video. He's like, I'd beat your head with a brick in. I'd cut his dick off.
Your head with the word of God.
Yeah. Oh, that's what he meant. Okay.
Yeah, that's what he meant. Because
you fucked my homie. Hey.
True forgiveness and the liberating feeling that comes from it hits you in the face like a brick.
I wonder what St. Thomas Aquinas would have to say about Big Money Rustlers.
I still have to see that, and I will.
Shaggy. What's the other guy's name? Violent J. And the other one's Shaggy Two Dope.
Look, wrestlers can't be worse than Holmes and Watson, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a good segue, right?
Let me put it this way: Holmes and Watson is
cancer.
Yeah, I mean, I think I might have it.
This is like the first movie that I've seen articles written specifically about people across the country walking out of the fucking movie.
I really wanted to walk out of this.
Threads about it, and it's
kind of astounding. Really, no one really writes about that. I mean, sometimes a reviewer might say, "Oh, I was tempted to walk out," but we don't normally hear about mass walkouts.
Look, like, Netflix didn't want it. That's the thing. That's
pretty bad when Netflix doesn't want it.
Cloverfield Paradox off of Paramount. That movie was a piece of fucking shit. And I wrote the review for the Cloverfield Paradox, and I gave it like 4 beers, and that is way not enough beers for that movie because it made me really angry. And
did you notice how weird Will Ferrell looked in the movie? They caked makeup on him to make him look younger.
Yes,
was he in a car accident recently, like Mark Hamill?
What?
Was he in a car accident recently, like Mark Hamill, before Empire Strikes Back?
Well, I mean, I guess I would describe Holmes and Watson as a car accident. But
okay, so it was like something where they were like, this movie's going to be bad for your career. Let's just put makeup on your face.
He was really done up in a very weird and distracting way.
Yeah. I mean,
like, that's weird. Is it Sony was like, whoops. Hey, Netflix, we know that you like to buy things that other people don't want. What do you say? And Netflix was like, nah, thanks.
Yeah, we don't have a market for this shit.
Yeah. Netflix was like, fuck that. That looks like ass. Which is something that Netflix does not say. So when the story came out that Netflix didn't want Holmes and Watson, that was when everybody was like, "Oh fuck, that's a bad sign." I do want to say that I didn't ever really feel like walking out of Holmes and Watson. I don't know if that's because I didn't find it as bad as everyone else did, or if it's just in the last year have just gone whole hog on really shitty movies and just endured them because I saw The Cat in the Hat 50 times in 2 years.
Yeah, probably that's it.
Yeah,
probably it. But it's not a good movie at all. It is bad. This is a poorly made film.
I almost want to see it just to see how bad it is because I think I've told you guys a little bit like, while I feel this past year was great for movies and for good movies, I didn't really see enough bad movies to make I'm struggling to make a worst of list.
Well, we were talking about this a couple weeks ago of me helping you curate that list, and I recommended AXL and Slender Man as a couple of them.
Yeah, and I know AXL is online somewhere, like
Blumhouse's Truth or Dare.
Blumhouse's Truth. Okay.
Peppermint. See Peppermint because that's still the worst thing I've seen this year.
But I'm genuinely interested to know, like, based off those articles and also off of you guys' reactions to it, to see like how bad. Yeah, you guys' reactions. You guys.
It feels like this. It feels like Sony. They started like they went to a bunch of different focus groups for making a Sherlock Holmes comedy, and they took all of the notes from every single focus group and tried to cram every single one into a 90-minute movie.
It's like that Simpsons meme. Or remember that or a segment. Remember when they did a focus group with the Simpsons kid with all the kids from Springfield, or some of the kids from Springfield, about Itchy and Scratchy, and then the guy's like, okay, so you want a show that's completely relevant and contemporary, but also insane with robots. And they're yeah!
That's a good way to put it, because this movie really does kind of leap between different styles and ideas. So there's slapstick, there's improv, there is very lazy references. There are very lazy references to Trump's America and modern politics. There are jokes about things that don't exist in the 19th century but will in the 21st century.
There's a pathetic musical sequence.
There's a musical sequence.
There's Braun Strowman.
Braun Strowman is in it. There's a joke about what medicine was like back in that time. I guess it was 19th century, I guess it would be. Or no, 20th century, I'm sorry. There's an American doctor who is like, oh, she pioneered electroshock therapy, and she's like, oh yes, my method's very good. Some of my patients survived a whole week. And, the joke is that, oh, medicine was really bad back then. But everything about the movie is like the joke just kind of ends with the concept of the joke. We're like, oh, isn't it further funny that this woman is a doctor because gender politics back then were really fucked up, just as they are now. And
gender politics back now are really fucked up. Yeah, they will be in 10 years.
Like so, 50 years. See, that's the thing. They either end with just like the intro to the joke like that, or they tell a joke that isn't funny and then they just go whole hog on it.
Yeah, or they just say the punchline and that's you're supposed to laugh at it because haha, it's Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly again. Isn't that hilarious?
Yeah, they were the Step Brothers.
The Step Brothers. They're back again. You're supposed to like a big old laugh sign with lights around it.
I honestly wonder whether that's where they stopped. That they just said, okay, we've got John C. Reilly, we've got Will Ferrell, and like they show up first day. All right, where's the script? What?
What?
Like, no, you're the Step Brothers. You're supposed to say the funny. Say it.
From the people that brought you the Ron Burgundies.
Yeah. So I said this like on the chat, but this movie was announced back in 2008, shortly after Step Brothers came out. It was originally going to be Sacha Baron Cohen and playing Holmes, and then Will Ferrell playing Watson. Then eventually that didn't happen. And then, I think at that point, I couldn't find all the information, but I think at that point, Adam McKay was still supposed to direct and write it and everything. And it was going to be really funny because I've been following this movie for a long time. And then it kind of just disappeared. And throughout that time, I just kind of like, oh, there is a movie coming out about Sherlock Holmes starring Will Ferrell. And then there's a Will Ferrell Sherlock Holmes movie that also has John C. Reilly. And then that was like 6 years ago that I last heard about it. And then it just comes out. And Adam McKay has moved on to bigger things like these giant socially relevant drama comedies. And now we have this asshole that directed Get Hard at making a fuck off Sherlock Holmes movie with zero effort. It feels like a movie that's kind of like it's started at one point and then it just, as it rolled along towards the release where we're at right now, it just kept accumulating ideas and concepts and jokes, and then it never ditched any of them. So this end result is this behemoth of fucking nonsense that tries to do everything, and all of it is the basest effort that stops as soon as it has an idea and thinks the idea is good enough to make you laugh.
Yeah, I think that's a good summary of it.
I did laugh. I laughed twice and chuckled once. When I chuckled is they're at the end of the movie, they're on the Titanic. And Sherlock Holmes is like, hey, it's Billy Zane. Because Billy Zane was in the Titanic.
The Titanics.
That's the joke. And
that was literally the only even partial laugh I got out of this movie.
So I said it in chat too, but like there's a part where they the Queen is in their house, and Watson is like, let's take a picture. Like, and the Queen's like, who's going to take it? He's like, I am. I'm holding the camera as sort of a self-portrait. And then Holmes is like, the picture is better if you purse your lips like a duck. And they're taking a picture, and Holmes wants to like, hey, girl. And and then they swing the camera around and accidentally knock out the Queen. And the guards are right outside the door, so they've got to, hide the body because they think
okay, that second part sounds funny.
But yeah, so she's unconscious.
It's really not.
She's I thought it was funny. She's unconscious, and they think she's dead. So they pick her up and then slam her face into the wall. They're trying to cram her into a trunk, but she's too big, so they're like pushing against her body and trying to slam the lid down on the trunk. So it's just like it's basic. It's pretty standard dead body / unconscious body physical humor, but I think it's kind of hard to fuck that up. So I'm easy to please when it comes to that subgenre of physical comedy.
That almost sounds Naked Gun-ish.
Watson is trying to shove the Queen into the trunk, and he's like pushing his pelvis against her and smacking her on the side of the hip because joke is that he's fucking her in the ass, but he's not.
See, I'm of the opinion that really stupid humor has to have intelligent humor to go along with it.
It does.
Not all the time. Sometimes it can just be stupid humor, like Wrongfully Accused. Remember that movie with Leslie Nielsen, Wrongfully Accused?
Yes, and it's
not very good. It's not very good, but it actually has some laughs in it. I remember watching that in the theater with my brother Bobby, and we were just dying laughing because it was just so stupid.
It does have funny moments, but like I said, it just does as a movie. I think
it's not a good movie. No, it's not a good movie by any means, but. It's very bad writing. That was when the spoof comedy was getting bad. That genre.
That was sort of the close to the death knell. The real death knell was 2001: A Space Travesty.
Yeah, it was around that point. But this was just on the cusp of that, so there was still some funny to be had. But
you might like this scene, at least this scene in Holmes and Watson, Bill, because
I don't know. I think it sounds like they went a little too far with it.
What?
It sounds like they almost went a little too far with it with the sex part.
Well, I mean, that was like a really small part of that scene. Then they kind of brought it back again, where they decide they're gonna have to cut up the body to get rid of it. So they pick her up and put her on the table, but it's almost like a wrestling style choke slam onto the table, and she's a total ragdoll. But
someone's having a beer.
See, it sounds way funnier than it actually is.
Yeah, I know. Hawk has a good way of making crap sound like it's the funniest fucking thing on the planet.
The other joke that I laughed at is that Holmes and Watson go out and they get just fucking trash at a bar, and they're Holmes does that thing where in the Guy Ritchie Sherlock Holmes and the Sherlock show where he has this like clairvoyance where he can map out how a situation will go, and he does this several times throughout the movie. And when he's drunk, he goes into this mode where he's like kind of like mapping out the trajectory of his piss as he's pissing in the gutter, but he's so drunk that the diagram is spinning around and he forgets to unzip his pants and he pees on himself. And this is all done in the clairvoyant diagram vision, which I thought that was kind of funny. It was like a really like bizarro sequence where he's talking about his penis is afraid to come out of his pants, and he gets there's like a magnifying glass on his crotch. This is all drawn in like 19th century diagram type stuff, and his head pokes out of his crotch like oh, and that was like the one point in the movie where they kind of went for this very abstract, absurdist comedy that worked for me. But again, this movie has so many different flavors of attempted comedy that nothing ever really lands perfectly.
Flavors, like such great flavors like stank ass and baby burp,
dirty nuts and
dirty like nuts. Yeah.
All right,
not the good stuff like pina colada or new car smell.
Yeah, more like penis colada.
Well, yeah.
See, that would be a great awkward moment to end this if we were near the end.
We still have some more to go. Yeah.
It's just weird. The movie's jokes just don't work. Like at one point, they're trying to find a one-armed man, and they go into the bar, and they're like, and Holmes is like, a pint for everybody that raises two arms above their heads. And everybody in the bar does it, and they're like, oh, everybody here has two hands. And then that's just the end of that joke.
Oh, okay.
It's very, very strange.
Like what would have been funny is if one person held up one hand with another hand held in the same hand. You know what I mean? Like they're holding up a detached arm.
Yeah, or something. I don't know. Like it's a fascinating movie with how just I really don't understand the process by which this was made.
Yeah.
I would recommend seeing it, Bill, just because it's just kind of crazy to watch it unfold. There is a wrestling scene and a joke about pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Which is it goes if you could predict or guess how the pay-per-view joke goes, you might be exactly right.
What was it? Something like
so it's a wrestling.
So we have to pay per view.
Yeah, it's a wrestling match, and then Holmes says, "Oh, it's pay to watch." And so then from there, what would you think? What would you expect the joke to play out as?
I don't know. I really don't know.
So
I don't care.
Money, and then Watson says, "Oh, it's really a good deal. You know, get some beers and some pizza and split the cost with your friends. It's kind of a good deal with the boys. It's a good deal."
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the joke.
That's not even a joke. That's just a
joke. It's just a fucking reference.
Right, and it's not even a good one because not everyone's a wrestling fan.
Yeah, so I was
not anymore, anyways. Yeah, I
didn't think it was that. I mean, yeah.
So tell us about Escape Room.
Oh, Escape Room is a movie that I saw this weekend.
Oh,
and I say that because it's a lot like Saw.
At first, you're very happy about the joke, and then you're like, but it's kind of like Saw.
I've been waiting to say that since I saw Escape Room because.
Oh, you did it again! All right.
Yeah, I saw it. It's Escape Room is the okayest movie that I have seen, that I probably will see in 2019. It's
okay.
It's fine. I mean, so Escape Room follows this girl named Zoe, and she's super smart. She's smart, but she's very socially awkward, and she's traumatized. And we don't know why until later in the movie. But in college, she is in her classroom, and she's got this theory where it's like, oh, such and such a system only exists and moves when you're looking at it. And she's about to speak up in class, and then she doesn't. And then at the end of the lecture, her professor's like, hey, over the break, do one thing that makes you, that gives you anxiety or something like that. It's like, break outside of the box, do this one thing. And there's also a very rich executive. There is a kind of a deadbeat, or not deadbeat, but kind of this is a slacker guy that works at a grocery store. He wants to work up front in the cashier and make more money, but his boss is like, it's not really a right fit for you. And there is a war veteran, a truck driver, and I feel like there's one more character. Oh, this nerdy guy who loves video games. Each of them receives this black box. It's like a puzzle box, and each of them kind of solves it in their own way. But when they do solve it, they get an invitation to this escape room company. It's like, hey, come into the escape room, and if you win, you get $10,000. So all of them are interested in doing that. And so they all meet at the escape room, and then when they get into the first room, they have this puzzle where they've they knock on this door of this window, and this lady's voice says, "Oh, please be seated. We'll be with you in a moment." They realize that this is the first escape room. They got to figure out how to get out of it. When the guy the slacker guy tries to get out to go smoke a cigarette, and he breaks the handle off, and it's got this little dial on it where the handle used to be, and they find a book that says Fahrenheit 451, and so the smart girl Zoe is like, "Oh, it's Fahrenheit 451, so 451 degrees." So she turns the dial to 451, and all of a sudden the room starts heating up. So they realize it's the first escape room. They got to figure out how to get out of it, and they figure it out, and they go to the next room, and there's a lot of different things I want to say all at the same time about this movie. So I'm trying to organize my thoughts, because it's not a bad movie. It's just got a lot of issues and a lot of things that made me upset. It's a lot of the clues here or a lot of the puzzles are shitty. So the first room, it was okay because, the Zoe looks at a cup that says, "Oh, doctor," there's the building that they're in is owned by a Dr. Wu Tan Yu. He's like a surgeon of some sort. And there's a sign that says, "Dr. Wu Tan Yu urges you to use the coasters at all times." And when they take all the magazines off the coffee table, they see 6 coasters. And when you put things in the coasters, it depresses the coasters, and a door opens up so you can go through the door and escape the room, which is rapidly heating up to the point where they're going to burn alive. And so they find a water. There's a water cooler thing water cooler. They fill the water in the cup and they put it on the coaster. The weight depresses the coaster and they can leave. So they find they're trying to press the coasters with their hands, and they find that with each person that leaves the room, there are fewer people to press down all 6 coasters, which at which point they realize that they've got to put the water in the cups and put it on the coasters. There are so many objects in the room that you could put on the coasters, but they never fucking do that. They're like, oh, the water's not fast enough. And then at one point, the guy's like, wait a second. The slacker guy, who's an alcoholic, he takes out his flask and he empties the flask into a cup to put on the coaster. And it's like this really tense scene of like, oh my God, the alcohol is coming out of the flask so slowly. Are they going to get out alive? When, he could just put the flask on the coaster.
Oh.
Roll up a magazine and put it on the coaster, or take the mug that says use the coaster and put it on the coaster.
What?
Or piss in the fucking cup and put it on the coaster.
That's what Aquaman said, right? You could have just peed on it. Actually,
there's like 2 or 3 puzzles in this movie that could have been solved by pissing on something.
Oh, wow.
So they get to the second puzzle, and I won't go through every single puzzle here, but like this is the puzzle that really pissed me off, is that they're in this, the next room is like this warm, cozy cottage, and there's a door leading outside that has this sliding lock mechanism where you turn the dials, and it's got 7 slots, and you got to line these letters up to spell a 7-letter word. And when you line it up correctly, you unlock the door. Hanging above the mantelpiece in this room is a very festive Christmas sweater-looking sign that says, "You'll go down in history." What's the first thing you think of when you see a festive Christmas sweater-looking sign that says, "You'll go down in history"?
Santa Claus?
You'll go down, like YULE?
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yeah, you'll go down in history. Yeah, Rudolph.
Okay.
On the wall are 9 sets of antlers. Each of those antlers is labeled with the first letter of the names of the reindeer. And the other character's like, it must be something famous. What are some presidents that had 7-letter names? I don't know. Oh, that's not working. And then one character looks at the antlers, like, oh, holy shit, Dasher, Dancer, Prancer. And then he like flashes back to, flashback where he and his friends are drunkenly singing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer in a car, and then they crash and people die. And the guy's like, oh, try Rudolph. And one of the guys is like, fine, whatever. And he does it, and it opens it up. Like, so this sequence occurs over the course of like at least 5 minutes. And at the very beginning, you see the sign. It's like, oh, it's Rudolph. You'll go down in history. It's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And so these characters spend the next 5 minutes fucking around with the wrong answers. And I wanted to scream at the screen because it's an obvious puzzle, and these characters are just too stupid to, like, the movie just elongates the process to solve the puzzle. And there's a lot of puzzles in this movie where you kind of figure it out. Like, I don't want to like toot my own horn. It's not. I don't want to seem like I'm too smart for this movie, but the puzzles are just obvious, a lot of them. But the other puzzle where you could have solved it by peeing on it is when they're in this really, really cold room, and there's a key encased in a block of ice, and it's like, oh, let's hold our hands on it and warm it up. It's like, hey, why not pee on the block of ice and thaw out the key? But I don't know.
Okay.
What?
Just more pee. I don't know.
But
yeah.
The cool puzzle room is the one where it's a bar. It's like a whole bar room with a pool table and stuff like that.
What I'm gonna do to you? You be running out of here so fast 2 feet could carry you. If you only knew.
Bill, calm down.
What I'm gonna do to you?
Ew, that's what Clint Eastwood says to the prostitute.
So fast we could carry you.
Okay. So I just walked over because I needed to use the washroom really quick, and I come back and I hear Billy on singing completely out of context.
He's crooning.
Yeah.
So
listen, dog.
The only one that's cool, or the cool room is like it's a bar, but it's upside down. So they come in and they're walking on the ceiling, and they got to figure out how to figure out what the clue for escape is. And there's a lot of elements to this room. And this is the room that really emphasizes that this movie has extremely good production design. Every single room has its own specific flavor, different elements that are really interesting. Like, it looks really cool. This bar room, there's this panel of album covers on the wall that Zoe figures out is like a sliding block puzzle, and she starts working on it. But sections of the floor are falling away, and so they've got less and less space to work with, and they're climbing up on stuff as they're trying to figure out what the answer to the clue is. And that was probably the most exciting room because they're trying to figure out what's going on. It was probably also the room that had the most interesting answer to it. Like they figure out that there's a safe over there with a key in it, but the safe has a combination, and they got to figure out where in the room the combination is. And then eventually they're like, oh, but they find the combination, but it's upside down because the room is upside down. It's like, okay, that's kind of clever. That feels like a genuine escape room with actual stakes where, you could figure it out if you actually, think about it and work with what's in the room. But then there's this urgency of the floor falling away. And it goes on from there. But in every room, somebody ends up dying. So people get killed off. The problem is only 2 of these characters are actually interesting. One of them gets killed off pretty early on, and the rest are, I want this motherfucker to die as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the cardinal rule of any kind of like suspenseful horror movie is make sure you write characters that people want to spend the rest of the movie with.
Yeah. I don't know, like the characters are acted very well. Like all the actors do a pretty good job playing their characters. So the characters are kind of thinly written. They're sketched out in interesting ways. Like, oh, this guy is a survivor of such and such. He's kind of an asshole. He does this and that. But they don't really fill the characters with any kind of interesting subtext that makes you want to care about them. They're just kind of they're interesting character sketches with no substance.
Well, that's too bad.
Yeah, it is. And then it gets to the ending, and the ending I'm really torn on, the big twist of what's going on, which I'll spoil for you guys if you want to
Yeah,
hear
I'm not seeing this movie.
Yeah, that's fine.
There's cameras at every single room, that watching them because they're being watched by the company who's done the escape room. And they get to the end, and the twist is that rich people pay this company to build escape rooms and kill people in them so they can watch them die, because we live in a society that is increasingly more bloodthirsty.
We're living in a society.
We're living in a society. And this movie is PG-13, so nobody actually dies in a really that violent way.
No.
Ironic. So, yeah, that's kind of the twist.
That's kind of lame.
Yeah, it's fucking lame, but it's also super dumb because when Zoe figures out what I think this movie got rewritten after test audiences because there's a room.
Why?
What?
I said why?
There's a room where that is pumping poisonous gas into the room, and there's a video. It's like Wu-Tang you challenge the limits.
Wu-Tang.
It's a video part with a countdown timer, and so one of the characters is like, "Oh, it wants us to build to increase our heart rate and unlock the doors." So he uses a defibrillator on a character and kills him, bringing his heart rate up to like 272 beats. And then he's like, "Wait a second, it means the opposite." So he meditates and brings his heart rate down to like 50 beats per minute, and then opens the door. And then Zoe dies from the gas. And then these hazmat guys come in, and they're like, there's a oxygen mask hanging from the ceiling, and they're like, "Oh, I wonder what she's gonna use that for." And she jumps up, is like, "To breathe, bitch!" And then she like knocks them out and kills them. And then she solved the thing, and the slacker guy is the guy that survived the room because he killed the asshole guy in a room that they both got dosed with LSD.
Okay.
Somehow stumbled across an antidote, which that was a room that had no clue. It was just kind of like, oh, you're tripping on LSD until you find the thing that you inject yourself with to stop tripping.
Oh, so it's kind of like Double Dare, that room.
Yeah.
It's got like a weird gimmick to it. Like brush the giant teeth before the other guy does.
Did they have the pool that was like full of like pudding?
Full of gack.
Yeah, whatever.
About that.
And now your winner for Escape Room 2018, the Purple Parrots.
Yeah. Oh, that's Legends of the Hidden Temple, right?
Well, still same shit. Same shit.
Roughly the same shit. Yeah. So Wu-Tan U, that's like Donald Trump University, but for the Wu-Tang Clan.
Yes. Wu-Tang U ends up being an anagram for No Way Out.
Oh God. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, and so when it comes to this point, so in every room, it turns out that each of these characters were the sole survivors of some kind of traumatic event. Like Zoe was in a plane crash and her parents died, but she didn't. And the rich guy, he was in a boat accident, and he and his friend were stranded on the boat, and there was only one heavy coat between them, and the coat is red. And in the cold room, there is a single red coat that each of the 6 characters have to share. In the burning room, it was a reference to the war veteran who had burn wounds, and they're like, "Oh, they know everything about us," but it never explains how this company knows about them. Like, it's just this fucking.
You only knew
where the company just puts these lone survivors in this room for the the entertainment of rich people that want to watch people die. Like, they don't really explain the intricacies of this. So at the very end, Zoe and the slacker guy are alive, and she's like, "Oh, I got his plane tickets. We're gonna go. I figured out from the logo of this company where their location is because they revealed it in the logo. We're gonna fly there." And yeah, she's like, "Hey, look, the logo of this company is like the MC Escher stairs, and it spells out these coordinates, and we're gonna go to that."
Well, that's stupid.
It gets worse, and it cuts to this other this plane disaster where the plane is crashing, and the flight attendant is trying to unlock this door, and she gets to unlock it, and then she gets in there, and then the pilots are dead, and the plane crashes, and then it cuts because it turns out this plane sequence is a scenario set up by the company because they're testing their new escape room, and they've diverted Zoe's plane tickets to put her on the escape room plane, and then
what?
Yeah, and then like this voice.
This is way too convoluted for me to even understand.
That's what's weird, is that it's so simple and stupid, but so over-explained. Like it's both too much and not enough. It's so fucking weird.
It's the nexus of the universe.
And then this like dark modulated voice, and you can't see his face. Like, "Well, we've conquered her fear of flying. Let's see what happens next," or something like that. And then the movie just ends. It's like, it's really bizarre.
Pablo Picasso is dead. Mean Gene Okerlund is dead.
Gene the dancing machine is dead.
Listen, don't undercut me here. I'm talking about Mean Gene here for a minute.
and I'm talking about Gene the dancing machine.
Don't undercut me here, Ken. He's talking about Mean Gene.
Goddamn right. Let me tell you something, brother.
You don't want any of these 22-inch pythons, or my mean genes will come after you.
If you only knew how to get out of this panic room.
All right.
So running out of here fast as 2 feet could carry you.
Is that the theme song from David Fincher's Panic Room?
That is a
sung by Peter Gabriel.
That's an
so Escape Room does have opening credits or an opening title card that evokes Panic Room, which I thought was interesting.
Let me tell you something, Ken Ekman.
Okay,
someone just farted.
Yeah, it sounded like it.
Sounded like it.
I'm sitting on a leather couch.
That's what they all call.
That's what they all say. Yeah.
The other big problem with Escape Room is that it opens with a guy in the escape room, and he's trying to solve a puzzle, and the wall on the other end is like inching towards him, and then it cuts to the title card right before it kills him. So you immediately know that this guy is safe until he gets to that room. So that kind of kills a lot of tension for that character. But with all that being said, like, the movie has great production design. It's kind of got a sense of humor about itself for the most part. It's got kind of like this low key entertainment for most of it. Like, it gets really nutty towards the end. And to be honest, I kind of love the plot twist because it's so fucking dumb, and also like it's way more up its own ass than it should be. But again, like I said, it is the okayest movie of 2019 that I'll probably see for a good chunk of 2019. It's fine. I told Ken when I got out of it, it is a It is a smarter version of Saw with a dumber version of Saw's plot twists. But at the very least, the credit I will give it is that there are no time jumps or anything. Like Saw kind of just justified his existence in its second half of the franchise, saying, "Yeah, but this movie takes place before the other ones, and this guy's working for Jigsaw, and this guy's working for this guy, and this guy's actually Jigsaw." And it kind of just the Saw franchise just continues to try to catch up with itself, I guess.
Or justify itself.
Like it keeps making up weird time jumps to make itself relevant and give you a reason to keep watching the sequels, even though Jigsaw died in fucking Saw 3.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out Carrie Elways was the Saw.
Yeah.
See, I have actually never seen a single Saw movie, so is that a twist?
It is.
That's a twist in the last one. He basically is revealed to be one of the assistants of Jigsaw, and then he carried on the legacy after.
Yeah, like after Saw 1.
He's in the first movie, yeah.
Yeah, he was in the first movie. He cut off his foot, and he left, and you never see him again until Saw 7, and, there is like, oh, ha, 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 it's me! And that's...
It's me, Carrie Elways!
And, like, in Saw... 5, it's revealed that this Saw 4 is revealed to take place before Saw 3, and Saw 5 has a villain who existed before Saw 1 and liked Jigsaw, but it was actually Jigsaw after Saw 4, and Saw 6 is...
Listen, wait a minute. This is really confusing chronologically.
Yes. Oh, it's very confusing chronologically.
This is like where Red Letter Media would be like doing their
This would be
their term. Yeah.
Wait a minute. I do want to point this out because the Saw series uses the Roman numerals.
Yeah.
This would be like if you did Rocky 3 and then all of a sudden Rocky 4 was a prequel to Rocky 3. Like it just gets confusing. Like why are you using Roman numerals if it's not just one continuity?
Because money.
Well, I get that. Like they
also
fucked it up.
Also time moves forward.
They fucked it up. So. But my point,
Ken, to be honest, Saw 1 is a very good horror movie.
The Halloween series follows the same problem where it's like it follows the Roman numeral rules.
Yeah.
Up to I guess. Well, no, because like two is Roman numerals.
I don't see why Roman numerals have to equal
continuity.
Right.
What?
Roman numerals should equal continuity, Bill. I think.
Okay, but shouldn't numbers also equal continuity too? Like just regular numbers? Why does it have to be Roman numerals specifically?
Because I feel like if you start throwing subtitles around, it gets confusing.
Well, like right. If it's just a subtitle, but I mean, if it's the regular number like 2, 3, 4, as opposed to a Roman numeral.
But the Rambo films go. You got First Blood Part 2.
Yeah.
Rambo 3. No. First Blood 2, Rambo 1. See, that's what I'm saying.
3, People 0.
This is what I'm saying. It's fucking confusing when you do it that way. Like you need a coherent structure for your titles if you're doing a franchise or a series because
and then Rambo 4 is just Rambo.
I agree. That's why I can never figure out what Mission Impossible movie we're on because at some point they abandoned the number system.
At the 4th one, they stopped.
Because they all blend together.
Yes.
Well, then you have like Saw. Saw is like Saw. The final chapter was the last one. Then Final Destination. The 4th movie was called The Final Destination, and then
confusing, very 5, confusing.
And that was a prequel.
20 years from now, people are going to have to consult Wikipedia to figure out what order these movies go in.
20 years from now, people won't care to fund Wikipedia because they do those fucking things every month. It's like,
it'll be 20 years from now, we'll all be dead because of climate change.
20 years from now, it's just going to be uploaded to your brain.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
You give Amazon $5. Oh, I'm watching Final Destination 1. What order do they go in? I don't know because Amazon's going to recommend the next one in sequence to me for another $5.
And I don't have to see the end credits. I can just skip the end credits.
That's all. Well, you know what? Have we talked about this in Netflix's skip intro thing?
Yeah, I think it's okay based on what the show is. Like I think for Family
based on what the show is, based on what the show is, because I was watching The Real Ghostbusters, and That's a fantastic intro. I get it. After a while it gets old, but it's like, after 2 or 3 episodes, I don't want to skip the intro. It's the real Ghostbusters. It's the ghosts walking down the street and the guys lighting up the proton packs and capturing the ghosts.
Hey, I just found a tweet someone sent online. Well, that's the only place to send tweets is online.
I prefer my tweets through carrier pigeon.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not relevant anymore when it gets to them.
This tweet just blew my mind. Here's the tweet. Green Room and Green Book are really the same movie when you think about it. Musicians on tour have problems with racists.
Yes.
Oh shit!
I was like, oh snap!
Oh snap!
That is true.
That is
so
very good.
Yeah, Escape Room is.
Are we still on Escape Room?
No.
I'm just capping it off. It's fine. Whatever. See it. Don't see it. Nobody cares.
Don't say it.
By the way, we never talked Green Room.
I thought we did
on the show. I believe.
I'm sorry. Green Book. God damn it!
We never did it. I had the opportunity to watch Green Book today, and I thought we had already reviewed it, so I didn't bother.
That's all right.
Well, then fuck it.
We can talk it around Oscar time. I actually legitimately enjoyed Green Book. I don't get what the hate is for it.
Well,
from what I've heard about the plot, I do get it.
The real world family of the guy is really upset with the movie or something.
Don Shirley of Don Shirley's family, the African American musician.
I literally know nothing about Green Book other than Peter Farrelly is the guy that made it, right? Or
today there was new controversy. One of the writers, who's the son of the character that Viggo Mortensen plays, the real life son of that guy, he tweeted something about Muslims cheering in the streets in New Jersey during 9/11. He was basically
which didn't happen. That was proven that didn't happen.
Right. He was tweeting to Donald Trump. He was like, yeah, it's just like when the Muslims did this.
God damn it, dude.
Then he deleted the tweet and deleted his profile, and everyone's like giving him shit for it now. And he just won a Golden Globe.
That does not bode well for Green Room.
Green Book.
Green Book. Green Room was good. Yes, Anton Yelchin. I fucked that up.
Green Room is great. I think Green Room is a good movie, but Green
Room or Green Book.
No. Green Room is a great movie. Green Book is a good movie, solid.
I could not ask for more out of an indie horror comedy ? Than what Green Room delivered. Patrick Stewart and Anton Yelchin giving 2 of the performances of their lives.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say about that.
Isn't Green Room like on Hulu or something right now?
It could be.
Yeah, it's been on Amazon Prime for a long time.
Amazon Prime, maybe? Yeah. Okay.
My favorite movie of maybe of all time, Sorry to Bother You, is on Hulu right now.
Of all time, really?
Maybe. We'll see.
That's pretty good. Yeah, that's a good, it's a good movie.
It's not my favorite.
It's definitely in my top 3 of last year.
It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I can't call it like number 1 or that's a hard call.
That's a hard thing to call.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right. So what else we got on the docket?
Did we talk about Bumblebee? Did I sleep?
We saved it for you guys.
Awesome. Yeah, I took a little nap. I'm back. I'm re-dyed, rested, and ready to work.
So I saw The Iron Giant, and then I saw Bumblebee.
How did you see The Iron Giant? Can I ask you
many times?
No. But like, when was the first time you saw The Iron Giant? Because I want to talk about this. Really has nothing to do with Bumblebee.
Mid-2000s, probably.
It has everything to do with The Iron Giant is fucking awesome, and you need to see it.
Yeah.
So like the marketing push for it was
awful.
Well, no, I mean,
The Iron Giant was poorly promoted.
Yeah, it was.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
Turner owns Cartoon Network, and at the time owned Warner Brothers Pictures. Is that right? It doesn't matter. Point is, Iron Giant was promoted on Cartoon Network, and I watched a lot of Cartoon Network at the time. it never really like occurred to me to go see it in the movie theater as a little kid. I had ended up seeing it when they would show it on Cartoon Network, which they did a lot. I feel like a lot of people that are aware of the Iron Giant saw it on Cartoon Network. And yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Like they really had no faith in that movie, but it ended up finding an audience, and people fucking love it. And people have every right to love it. It's a fantastic movie. And now Bumblebee.
which is the Iron Giant, but with robots fighting, and in robot fight scenes that
it's
are
not as
just
good.
as incoherent as the Michael Bay movie.
It's no, I disagree with that.
The plot itself is fine. I actually enjoyed some of the characters in the movie. What I'm saying is the actual robot fight scenes are just as incoherent as what you get in the Michael Bay movies.
Wow,
I just turned completely off.
That's what I posted in the group chat, was like, I'm watching Bumblebee, I like it, but Jesus, these robots fighting scenes, like I just lose all interest, and I find myself going to my phone and like getting bored with what's going on, and that sucks, because there is legitimate effort put into this, like more effort than I've ever seen out of a Transformers movie before. What is that noise?
Someone's typing very loudly.
Sorry, that's my mechanical typewriter.
Oh.
Or my mechanical keyboard, I'm sorry. It acts like a typewriter. I was just typing out a short email. That's all. I'm sorry.
It sounded like a typewriter.
I should mute myself when I do that.
Yeah, you probably should. I was. Do you know the Jerry Lewis typewriter routine?
Oh, ladies!
Right. Well, yeah. If that's what it was sounded like to me.
Okay. Well, I'm done typing. It's fine.
All right. So Bumblebee is
my typewriter is loud. That's its path.
Oh my god! I typed a little too much.
Riboflavin.
There you go.
My typewriter doesn't know if I'm a man or a woman. That's Pat from It's Pat.
Oh.
Do I go to the bathroom in the men's room or the women's room?
Sexist.
That's a movie they could never do today, could they?
Wait a minute.
They kind of wrote the line even back then.
Pat is played by a
woman,
binary female. So I would argue that would probably people would probably embrace that. Maybe not. I don't know. You know what? This isn't important. Let's talk about Transformers and Cybertron.
Yeah, that's important.
I like that they show Cybertron and they have G1 Transformers designs in that trailer.
There's a lot of little references to the original series.
G1?
Generation 1.
So like the original Transformers designs from the
Ken,
show.
As somebody like, okay, so I used to date a chick that was a Transformers fan. G1.
Why is that so funny to me?
Please, Bill, school me on Transformers G1.
I used to date a chick that was a Transformers fan.
I don't know why that's so funny.
I don't know why it is. It just is. Like, that's the first thing. That's her ring quality.
That's her thing.
That's her thing.
That wasn't her thing? Wait a minute.
She liked Transformers.
Wait a minute.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That wasn't her thing. Her thing that she was polyamorous and she was dating another guy, and that was a huge mistake.
That is that's the thing.
That was her main thing. But
here's a question: was she polyamorous or was she just cheating?
No, she was very polyamorous.
Would you say that her relationship transformed?
Like a full house. This is like a Fuller House audience.
She looked for her cosmic cube somewhere else.
Anyway, she was
her energon.
Polyamorous people are very upfront about the fact that they are polyamorous.
Okay,
like kind of like vegans.
They're not.
Vegans are very upfront, aren't they?
That's probably a good comparison. Yeah, like they're not out to hurt it, but that's not important. The whole fact of the matter is, I dated somebody who was a legit fan of Transformers.
Okay.
And she would use the words G1 very liberally because it referred to the original incarnation of Transformers. And because, you know, really, like, once you get past that original incarnation, you have to specify, like, Beast Wars or whatever the hell else the rest of them are called. Or if you're
I guess saying original series takes too much time.
G1, no, I mean, that's just what they call it. That's just what that's the Transformers.
That's fine. That's fine.
It kind of sounds cool.
This
G1,
movie,
I prefer G1.
I finally got it. Like, it finally clicked with me when they started playing "The Touch" by Stan Bush. Is that his name?
Bush.
That's in the Transformers movie.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And I understood that. And when they started playing the song in the movie, I was like, oh, I see what you did there. You know, like that was just a little fun moment.
Yeah, that's a nice little Easter egg in Bumblebee. I'm glad they recognized that. Because I enjoyed G1 of Transformers as well. I'm sorry,
Okay.
Let me ask you guys this about Bumblebee.
Ken, how cool do you feel saying G1?
G1.
I feel just as cool and with it as I do calling Star Trek The Next Generation TNG.
People call
exactly.
the original series is referred to as TOS.
I feel as cool as having
DS9.
I feel as cool as a person who has TMG.
But everyone just calls Voyager Voyager because fuck Voyager.
Yeah, fuck Voyager. So let me. I said that with very important. Now,
You sounded very mad.
Yeah, let me ask you, Bill, about Bumblebee. Like, in The Last Night, they established that Bumblebee was in World War II, so he's already visited Earth.
Well, here's the thing. I pointed this out in the group chat. I have not watched a Transformers movie since the Dark of the Moon.
Okay.
You should watch Last Night. It is fucking terrible.
It's
Transformers
really bad.
Bark at the Moon.
Yeah, Bark at the Moon.
Yo, fun fact.
I don't
World
have
War
any
II
context. I really, outside of the original trilogy with Shia LaBeouf, I don't have any context of the lore of these films.
Oh, there isn't. It's not a good lore.
Right. I understand that. But I'm saying, like, I didn't see the Mark Wahlberg films.
Spoiler alert, you don't need to because they're all garbage.
Other spoiler alert, you totally should because they're so bad that they have to be seen. Like, you will watch these movies and be like, how can so many people fuck up so badly? Like, just caterers and best boys and key grips and script supervisors. Like, yes, we're making this movie that people like.
Oh, you're talking low level people that are just happy to get a paycheck. Like,
check it out though. Fun fact: the World War II Nazi scene in The Last Night, where they had the flags on the castle and shit.
Yeah.
That was Winston Churchill's house.
Yeah, that was a big, well, not big, but there was a little bit of a scuffle about that with the Churchill family. Yeah, there were
how do you fuck up that badly?
The location scout was even
Nazi headquarters. Set Nazi headquarters at Winston Churchill's house. That has to be intentional. Michael Bay is a maniac.
Yeah.
Huh. So they don't. Let me ask you, Bill. Do they reference anything about like Bumblebee or in the Transformers ever having been on Earth at any point in history before?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Okay,
well, this is supposed to be like
Bumblebee
a soft reboot, right?
Yeah, Bumblebee softly reboots the Transformers movies.
God, what a waste of money those past 5 mega blockbusters were.
What a waste of my money.
All 5 of them? Really?
Yeah, all 5.
Well, maybe the first one was okay. I don't know, but
no, they're all terrible.
Yeah. I can't argue with that. At all.
Yeah, okay.
They are unwatchable.
People love to make an argument for that first one, but I can't get in on it. And again,
the people who make an argument for that first one, like they're people who just get into the eye candy of it. That's it.
I feel like a good chunk of people that defend the first one are like, well, Steven Spielberg produced it, so it has to be good, right?
A solid 90% of that movie is shots of Megan Fox's ass.
Yeah.
No. That's the second movie.
That's the second and the third movie, isn't it? Well, the first movie has some of it in it.
Wait, then who's in the first?
The first movie, listen, the first movie sexualizes Megan Fox, but it's not as bad as it became.
I mean, it's still bad because of that shot where she's opening the car's hood and she has that greasy sweat.
And she's standing at an angle that no human being stands at, but it looks photogenic.
Yeah.
When you say greasy sweat, I just think of brown gravy, and that's disgusting.
Well, I don't know. Brown gravy's pretty delicious. But
would you want to lick it off of Megan Fox's sweaty body?
Megan's Fox? I want to lick it off of Megan's Fox.
Yeah, right out of Megan's foxhole. Right?
I want to lick brown gravy off of Megan.
Oh God, brown gravy! No!
Oh my God! I mean, wait a minute. I mean, the movie does treat her as a piece of meat.
Okay, that's we brought it right back to where
that's my point. Yes, my point is it's terrible.
Yes, thank you, Bill. You brought it right back to where it needs to be. Yeah.
So, any other thoughts on Bumblebee? Because I don't honestly.
Well, let me ask: Was John Cena any good?
He was the worst part of the movie.
No.
I didn't see him.
John Cena is the worst part of that movie. He is just Jarhead. That's all his character is.
That sounds like the best part of the movie.
Wait a minute. So we together, all four of us, did a commentary of The Marine.
That does not make John Cena good in this movie.
Well, no, let Bill explain. I want to hear him out.
I think that John Cena plays the Marine in this. Like, I mean, if you liked the Marine, which I guess Ken didn't, like, I didn't have a problem with John Cena. I want to see John Cena flourish. Like, I want to see him go down the path of The Rock and become a movie star. If that'll be successful, I don't know. The John Cena experiment is up in the air right now. But he pretty much plays his character from the Marine in this. He lets Bumblebee and the girl go at the end because he learned his lesson. Well, actually, no, I take that back. He does learn his lesson, but there's a line that I actually laughed at that John Cena has in this. He's talking to like his superiors. Mm-hmm. And he's like, they're called Decepticons. That doesn't raise a red flag to you?
Okay, that line was kind of funny.
That's pretty good.
That's nice.
I have this go ahead. Like, say your thing, and I have something I wanted to add to that.
Again, yes, Ken is absolutely correct. He plays G-Man. He plays, they establish in the beginning of the film that when Bumblebee crash landed onto Earth, that he kind of fucked up. Like he got onto John Cena's radar, and John Cena's real suspicious about him, and blah 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 blah. So
John Cena is the Javert.
Oh, and I'm Javert. Wow, I would love to see John Cena play in Les Miserables.
I just want to hear
John
Cena sing a song.
Reboot Les Miserables with all professional
with all Ron Strowman is someone, and
yeah.
So I had this thing,
and still have Tom Hooper direct it.
Yes,
with music sung live.
When I watch, but performed by ICP.
Yes.
Oh no!
We made a joke earlier, Bill, about Shaggy Too Dope.
We what were we saying? Like Shaggy Too Dope? What was he gonna?
He was doing the music for some movie that we.
Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins, yeah.
We're remake Mary Poppins with Shaggy Too Dope music. No, so I had this thing when I watched the trailer for Bumblebee where every shot of John Cena, my immediate thought was a guy, a professional wrestler, a non-actor, being like, "I'm acting."
Yeah, that's pretty much all it is.
Okay. But
he has no character whatsoever, other than a very obvious accident results in him hating Bumblebee for some reason, and he is so stupidly goes along with the other option. Like it's so base. It's so lame.
No. Again, he's skeptical of the Decepticons.
Yeah, barely.
How is
he goes along with them long enough to allow
the time in which the movie takes place, which is 1987, 1986. I don't remember exactly. The scientist,
it takes place in Hollywood 80s, which is a recent phenomenon.
The scientist character says to him, if you let these guys walk, they're going to go to the Russians, and you'll be held responsible for letting the Russians win. And that it's not the best motivation. But it's for fucking Bumblebee. It's fine.
But the problem is Bumblebee actually ratchets up character development in its other cast. So the fact that he is the one character in this movie without any character is the problem.
I don't disagree with that, but I don't know how you guys felt about it, but the intro, going from Cybertron to Earth, and then the one Decepticon follows him, and he's like, oh, you won't talk? You'll never talk again. And he rips out something in his throat, whatever allows him.
Am I the only one who, through the entire length of the Transformers films, have said, why can't they just repair him?
No, I thought that too.
They're constantly fighting. They have time for that.
Yeah, sorry, I stomped on what you're saying. Go ahead.
Okay. That's it. No, you're right.
Oh,
you're
okay.
Absolutely right.
Yeah,
I don't disagree with you at all. Like,
so I kind of like some of John Cena's acting choices. Not in this movie necessarily, because I haven't seen this movie, but I mean like his casting choices, like Blockers or that movie with Amy Schumer.
The movie where he was the voice of the bull. That's fine.
Fernando.
Yeah,
Fernando.
No. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Fernando. Like Fernandez.
Yeah, something like
Dirty
that.
Sanchez.
Dirty Sanchez. Ferdinand. That might be it. Yeah.
Ferdinand. Yeah, that's it.
You know,
I watched Ferdinand and I liked it.
Yeah,
he can be good in comedy roles. You know,
I have no problem.
Blockers was fun.
Yeah, Blockers are. Well,
I'm going to emphatically say that.
Let's save that for the end of the year discussion. Ken has already confirmed that it's going to be on his worst list. We'll talk about Blockers eventually.
Okay. Right.
Everyone else but you liked it. I want to point that out.
Okay, well, they're wrong.
It wasn't. It's not Oscar worthy. I'm just saying, considering the premise and what it was.
It was one of the more painful experiences I've sat through this year. So
not at all.
Suggest to you more painful experiences of the
year. There's more.
I know you can, and that's what scares me.
Watch Happy Time Murders.
Oh no, yeah,
Happy Time Murders is
probably
again. We'll save this for the end of the year.
Yeah, we'll do the end of the year.
End of the year discussion. We're talking about Bumblebee. The girl, I don't know the actress's name.
Haley Steinfeld.
Her character's name was Charlie Watson. I thought she didn't do a great job, but she did a good job. She was a good lead for this movie. And
Haley Steinfeld was she was fine. Not perfect, but I think she did well for what it needed.
The thing that I started thinking about after the movie was over was people call this story not the kind of story that this is. People say a boy and his robot. I liked that it was a girl and her robot, and that's really uncommon. It's
and they do cast her character against type because she's into mechanics and stuff.
A girl and her robot.
There's this part in the trailer where they're underwater and she's looking at him.
Yeah.
And holding him and somebody on Reddit they said the movie should be called The Shape of Bumblebee.
I saw that shot. I know exactly what you're talking about.
What is up with that scene?
That was a weird scene. I'm absolutely on the same page.
Yeah.
That was a weird. To be fair, it only lasts like 15 seconds or whatever. But
that's it.
It's in there. It's weird.
I'm gonna spoil something else, by the way, and it's Bumblebee becomes a Camaro again.
Yeah.
Well, when Optimus Prime shows up and that was stupid. That was, I'm not gonna lie,
he's fucking called Bumblebee. He can't be a Camaro.
He was, well, whatever. I don't care about any of this stuff because I don't care about Transformers. As far as this movie goes on its own, just judging it as its own thing and not, for me personally, like pretty much disconnecting it from the Transformers franchise as a whole, outside of the fact that I did watch the Shia LaBeouf movies, but outside of Optimus Prime showing up, that wasn't really in the forefront of my mind watching this. And as somebody who I don't have any nephews, I have only nieces. And I thought to myself, I was like, oh, for a little girl that might be like into sci-fi, this is probably really fucking awesome. You know?
Oh yeah, that I'll agree with. It's, anything to upend the, the norms. I'm all for.
Yeah, and I think this movie succeeds in that as a product. Maybe not, to appeal to everybody, but I can see a little girl watching this and being completely into it, and that makes me happy.
Yeah, and Bumblebee, by the way, is so far the first Transformers movie to not make a profit in the United States domestically.
Isn't that funny that its quality goes up, but its box office goes down?
Yeah, and worldwide, it's only $307 million.
I think most people, first of all, like most people in America, probably write off spin-offs, but also like the Transformers movies have been going downhill. So like that franchise doesn't have the best, it's not in good faith with the public.
I would still guarantee if the movie was just called Transformers, the Death of All Sanity or something, then it would still be like a $400 million movie in the U.S.
No, I really can't overstate how awful The Last Night is. The Last Night is an extremely bad movie. It's not even the kind of movie that I would subject myself to enjoy, ironically. It is bloated and boring and fucking horrible, and I think that is what killed the franchise. After that, everybody was like, you know what? Fuck this.
Oh, you know what? I'm wrong. Actually, The Last Night didn't make a profit in the United States.
No. It
did with foreign figures. Yeah, so it's not the first.
Like, everybody was like kind of curious to see what would result from Age of Extinction, and The Last Night is just a disaster. I could do an entire video essay on how much the Last Night
is bad.
Oh shit!
I know that Bill A, you did some like you were kind of fascinated by Age of Extinction.
I was fascinated by Age of Extinction for some weird reason. I don't know why, and I didn't think it was a good movie, but I thought it was very watchable.
Like, I would disagree, but I respect
despite its length.
Watchable.
Yeah, I actually found something to connect to in that movie. I recognize
Last Night is just a disaster.
Last Night's horrible. I
Last
saw that
Night
in the theater.
is one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So, Bandersnatch.
Black Mirror Benedict Cumberbatch.
Well, I don't want to call it that, but
Black Mirror Bandersnatch.
Black Mirror Humberto Cabbage Patch.
I've been pretty open about the fact that I had a lot of fun with this, and I'm really interested to hear what Hawk has to say about it.
Yeah. So there's a Black Mirror Bandersnatch is like it's like peeling back layers of an onion or an ogre.
Oh, you and your Shrek shit.
You and your Shrek, you fuck.
You and awesome. Your Shrek, you fuck.
It's pretty awesome, right?
It's pretty awesome. It's pretty great. It's basically the story of Bandersnatch is about this programmer who is designing a video game in the 80s.
Based on a Choose Your Own Adventure book.
Based on a Choose Your Own Adventure book, and the video game itself is a Choose Your Own Adventure video game, and the movie is a Choose Your Own Adventure movie. So it's kind of cool.
The movie
it's smart.
It takes place
in just a little bit there. Possibly.
Yeah, he did. But it takes place in 1986, I think.
Something like that. Yeah, 86, 87, whatever.
What my point
Hollywood 80s, once again.
Referring to it as a choose-your-own-adventure video game is... It's basically just like a Sierra game, pretty much. Like,
yeah, it's kind of like playing one of those choose-your-own-adventure video games, but instead you're watching a movie that
full motion video.
It's not. Well, yes, but no.
I mean, yes, but it's full motion video, but filmed with the quality and the cinematic pedigree that you've expected from the show. It's directed by David Slade, I think.
Oh, Slade Craven.
Craven.
Yes. No, David Slade of 30 Days of Night.
Oh, that's David Slade.
Oh, that does not help.
No, I remember 30 Days.
Don't worry about it. I didn't know who directed this. It's fine. It's part of the Black Mirror series.
I'm very interested in this movie. I'm just saying, telling me that it's the director of 30 Days of Night does not encourage me.
Well, he also did Hard Candy, so...
Oh, there you go.
I don't know what that is.
That's the Ellen Page movie where she's like, "You're a pedophile, and I'm going to torture you with this information."
Oh my god!
Oh,
that was an early film of hers. She was. Patrick Wilson.
Patrick Wilson and
Sandra.
No, yeah, her also, but
Ellen Page.
Ellen Page, thank you. No, it's a solidly directed movie. It's got some really cool artistic shots. Like the sense of place and time is very defined. Like it feels right.
Mm-hmm.
But it's about this. Bill, go ahead and tell us about the plot. You haven't talked too much during this, so I'll let you take the helm.
Where do I begin? So we've talked about. Okay, so really what I want to gloss over, and I'm going to try not to get into spoilers. It might happen. We'll see. But the fact that it's a choose-your-own-adventure viewing experience about a computer programmer making a choose-your-own-adventure video game, that's a level of meta right there.
Not only that, but the programmer becomes aware at a certain point that he is being dictated. His actions are being dictated by an unseen force.
I had mentioned, Zach had asked me about it, and I had mentioned that it's as easy to get a game over as it is to make 3 decisions in the game. You can get a game over if you make the wrong choice on your 3rd decision.
Yep, I did that.
When you do that, the other characters change based on that, because the lead character that you control is named Stefan, and he is designing a video game based on a choose-your-own-adventure book called Bandersnatch, and his idol is this guy named Colin. And Colin, when he demos the game for them, Colin isn't aware of Bandersnatch, and Colin is like, he tries to make the wrong choice. And if you make the wrong choice on your 3rd decision and you have to go back and redo it, Colin all of a sudden knows what Bandersnatch is because you recommended it to him in the previous incarnation.
Yeah, so he's aware of what you've done. Like he kind of cognizant of this having already happened.
He, like, some of the characters are affected by you making wrong decisions, which again, like, adds layers to it, to where, like, it's super fucking interesting to me.
Yeah.
Like, I love this thing. I love this thing so much. But as you go on, some choices that you make are literally just aesthetic. Some choices, like, there's a choice between you're sitting on the bus and you have to pick between which cassette tape you're going to put into your Walkman, and it's Thompson Twins, or Now That's What I Call Music. All that does is change the soundtrack. But, like, I appreciated that. I like that there's choices that just affect the aesthetics, and there's also choices that take you down different story paths. So you really never know until you've done it several times. You don't know what choice is going to affect what. Like, it really throws you for a loop in that sense.
Yeah, it's great because I think those early choices kind of like lure you into thinking that it's going to be a profound choice. Like I think the first choice you make is
cereal.
Which type of cereal you want to eat.
Yep.
And I actually didn't finish the movie. Like I got to a point where it got to a certain. So this movie, if you click on it on Netflix, it's the Netflix always tells you how long the movie is. It says an hour and 30 minutes, but when you get to a choice, if you just don't touch anything, it'll start picking things for you. Mm-hmm. And if you go that critical path, it'll be about a 90-minute movie. If you actually play with the choices and do things and go down different routes, this could be over 2.5 hours of movie.
I played this for about 3 hours at least.
I played it for about an hour and 15. So I'm not quite towards the end yet, but I can see how like certain things, like I got to a certain point where it brought me back to a choice that I was supposed to make in the first half hour of the movie. I've explored all these tertiary paths, and now I'm brought back to this one thing, and now it's put me on this different path where I'm seeing a whole different movie. And it's just fucking crazy how I'm seeing all these different things, but they're still part of the same storyline. It's all, yes. And the movie actually, I think the most brilliant part is that this movie actually references that.
Mm-hmm.
The character played by Will Poulter, the programmer.
He excels. Like he's so good.
Will Poulter is a great actor.
I don't think I've seen him before this. And
he was in the Maze Runner.
Oh, I've never watched those movies. Okay.
You should watch the first Maze Runner. It's good. The other two are not as good, but the first Maze Runner is awesome.
I will make an argument for the third Maze Runner. I think it's an interesting way of wrapping up the story. The problems with Maze Runner 2 and 3 is they divert from the whole maze running thing, which is what made the first one so unique. But honestly, the third one has some entertaining story elements and world building in it. The second one is just kind of
the first Maze Runner plays its cards so close to the chest that like the final reveal is terrific.
I agree. The first one is unequivocally the best. But I'm just saying, I think the third one I can make an argument for being an entertaining action film.
It's a good action flick for sure. The second movie is
it has some moments, but yeah.
The second Maze Runner is very Hunger Games 3.
It's very much the movie that exists to branch two stories.
Yeah.
And it's actually kind of, unessential. You can skip to the third one without losing too much.
Totally, yeah.
So, Hawk, I want to talk about basically a running joke with me and my friends when we watch this together. The character of Colin and that actor and his voice, his voice and his delivery. So we didn't. I was fine with him until there's a storyline in this where you have the choice to go with Colin, and he gives you acid to take.
Right.
But when you're at his apartment, he introduces you to his girlfriend, whose name is Kitty. But for some reason, like this guy's accent, I heard Kissy. Oh, Kissy.
Kissy.
That's how he talks. I swear to God. Hawk can back me up on this. That's how he talks. Oh, this is my girlfriend, Kissy.
So, if you move your lower jaw forward ahead of your upper jaw and then try to speak with a British accent or a Cockney accent, that's kind of what Will Poulter sounds like.
He sounds like Richard Ayoade had a lobotomy.
Yeah,
that's exactly what he sounds like.
I didn't really pick up on it until you said something, but after you said something, I was completely enamored by it.
Okay.
He's entertaining, but you take acid with this dude and he's like, the world is not what you think it is. The world is the world is an illusion.
it's program and control.
It's so fucking funny, dog. It's so fucking funny.
Like, yeah, it's really great. But it's a great performance. Like that. Like I should emphasize that delivery feels very intentional, because when you go into Colin's apartment, his wife or his girlfriend, Kitty, has like extremely heavy mascara and eyeliner and like frizzy red hair, and his apartment is like this really the design of his apartment is very bizarre and excessive. So like everything about his character is very strange. So like the production design of the movie feels very intentional, as does his delivery. So it's not like something that is like too dumb or weird. Like it's definitely a choice.
I agree with you. Again, it just reminded me of like Richard Ayoade's performances.
Yeah, totally.
His delivery. But like, so Kissy became a joke when we were watching this with me and my friends. There's a scene where they're both tripping on acid. The main character that you control, Stefan, and Colin. And Colin like grabs his head and pulls him close to him, and we were just sitting there. We're like, Kissy, like, Kissy. It's so stupid. It's so fucking stupid. But I laughed so hard. Maybe that adds to the enjoyment, but. There's other stuff like Bandersnatch, man. There's a lot to enjoy with this thing.
Did you I maybe it's a spoiler, but did you fight the therapist?
That was my favorite ending.
Oh yeah, so like he's talking to his therapist.
The only way you can get to that is if you explain to the character who lives in 1986 what Netflix is.
Yeah, you get to the point where the guy's like, "What's going on?" and you have a choice, and one of the choices is this kind of like this symbol of something or other, and the other choice is
from Black Mirror. That's from.
And if you click on Netflix, you're talking to this guy as you, the watcher, dictating this character's events. And then, he goes to his therapist. He's like, "Oh, I feel like my whole life is being dictated by this unseen force." And the therapist is like, if this was really the case, wouldn't this
be more entertaining?
Wouldn't it be more entertaining with more action? And the options are yes and fuck yeah. If you click on fuck yeah, you get to watch a fight scene between the main character and the therapist, who is this.
The therapist pulls out some katanas, Mortal Kombat style.
It's like, isn't it those like those extendy like baton things where you like and it like it comes out into like and you watch a fight scene and it's like, hey, do you throw her? Do you jump through the window or do you karate chop your therapist?
What did you pick?
Oh, I went whole hog on the like, yes, fucking fight that. It's like, oh, like punch your dad in the balls. And
yes.
God damn.
Like this movie is fucking awesome.
Okay.
It's really fun. However, I want to inform you, Hawk. Really, this is my encouragement to get you to go back and retry choices that you didn't, like paths that you didn't take. If you choose jump out the window, do you know what happens?
No, I don't.
Basically, the director calls cut, and the actor is like, basically, like they're like, "Yo, you're method acting, and you're way too far into character." Like it goes even more meta than it was before.
Awesome.
Like the production stops.
Cool.
The production stops, and they're just like, "You're fucking crazy. This isn't real. You know this, right?"
That chair, every time you shift in it, it sounds like
god damn it. Yeah, I'm sitting on this leather couch. It sounds like I'm farting.
The movie is great because like, so at the beginning of the movie, like, you make a choice toward, it's like the second or third choice. And then one character is like, well, wrong path. And he winks at you. And then, something happens. And then the main character is like, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to try it again. I'm going to keep going. And then it flashes back and it kind of like fast forwards through some of the things you've seen so far. And you get to make a choice again, where the movie is kind of like guiding you towards a choice that you probably should make instead. But you can still go along a different choice, and I don't know. So there are 5 different hard endings, but based on choices you make throughout the movie, you'll see different versions of that. So Netflix has said there are like something trillion permutations of the ending that you can arrive at.
Damn.
Based on your choice in the movie.
There it goes again, Bill.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry. I just can't.
Get over it. Grow up. It's fart noises.
I know. But
it's always funny, though. I mean, come on.
Not
always.
I think it's because you can't help yourself that's making it so funny.
No, I have noise canceling headphones on, and I'm sitting on a leather couch, so like just shifting my ass a little bit makes noise.
Well, the noise is canceled for you, but not for us.
Yeah, I know. Anyway,
that was another one.
None of these fart noises should deter anybody from watching Bandersnatch.
It's a fucking cool project. It's really, really unique. It's really fun. It's a hell of a thing. It's like
I'm impressed. I remember
hours playing around with it.
I don't remember what the name of the movie was, but I remember not back in the day because I didn't watch it live, but being a fan of Siskel and Ebert, I've watched a lot of old at the movies.
Mr. Payback. You're talking about Mr. Payback.
Mr. Payback. Yes, that's exactly.
I actually went to the theater when I was a kid to see this, so I experienced the buttons, the green and the red and stuff like that, to select on the screen what you wanted to see.
This is way different. I mean, I don't know about way different, but. Yeah, so I know Siskel and Ebert didn't like it, and they kind of condemned the idea of a choose-your-own-adventure movie.
Yeah.
With Bandersnatch, basically, so I had heard about it, as I'm sure you have heard about it. What I didn't realize going into it is that you have about 10 seconds to make a choice.
Yeah.
If you don't make the choice, it just selects whatever whatever's highlighted.
Critical path.
Yes.
Okay, so there's a default path?
You have 10 seconds to make a decision. If you don't make a decision within those 10 seconds, whatever your cursor is highlighted is the decision that you choose.
Oh, is it the cursor? I thought it was I thought that if you just watched the movie and selected nothing, that it would just kind of like go along the 90-minute critical path that
it'll still give you game overs. It'll still give you game overs, but if basically, like if you get a game over and then you just let it sit and don't click anything and it goes back, then it'll highlight the right or a decision that will make you progress.
Okay.
I fucking love this thing. I thought
it's really fucking cool. Like it is so much more than just like a choose. Like there are a lot of choose your own adventure things. What kind of like it can feel a little bit fragmented if you don't go the right path. But Bandersnatch
always gives you the option to go back.
It always gives you the option to go back, and it always whatever you choose, it always kind of leads into the next thing, even if you have to go back. Like I got to a point where like I had to do a certain thing, and I chose not to do that. And to a certain point, it forced me to do that thing. But
let me ask, how often does it ask you to make a decision?
Every like 5 minutes or so.
Okay, I was just curious because the one thing I could see that could be a problem is if it asks you either too often or not often enough.
It feels right, like it feels organic to the point where like every time the main character has to make a decision, it's forcing you to make that for him.
Okay.
The other big thing is that like this is a really interesting piece on mental illness because
I was just going to bring that up. Because some of the decisions are intentionally put there so that the main character can resist them.
Yes, or that he cannot resist them.
Yes.
Like I think like the main character is
the meta aspect of this is off the charts.
The what?
The meta aspects.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, the main character is very troubled. He takes pills. He's traumatized. He is possibly schizophrenic, and he sees a therapist. And so, like watching his struggle, the main actor is Timothy Whitehead.
Whitehead.
I know his last name is Whitehead. I don't know what his first name is.
That's a weird name.
Well,
it's English.
Name, so. Shit. He's very troubled. His mother has passed away.
That's all dealt with. Yeah, that's important to the plot, honestly, is his mother. The circumstances. Yeah, the circumstances of his mother's death.
Let's not go into too many spoilers because I'm definitely going to be one.
It's not a spoiler. It's just
probably this weekend.
It's really not. It's really not. Just know that, like, again, I would encourage. First of all, Ken and Bill, I would encourage you to experience this. Okay. All three of you, I would encourage you to at least try to get to every outcome that you can possibly get to, because they're all pretty fucking interesting and entertaining. Like, I could honestly, if I hadn't gone on YouTube and watched like all the endings, I probably would have been on this thing for like 5 hours.
I'm probably gonna dive into it more tonight because I actually haven't finished the movie.
Right.
I got to a certain pretty significant reveal that really left me kind of flummoxed. This is a Black Mirror is a great show. I think my favorite was the
well, let me talk about finish your sentence. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
My favorite episode of Black Mirror is probably the Star Trek one. Because this movie the show Black Mirror as a property really explores these crazy ideas, and Bandersnatch is on a whole different level, both in its narrative and how it explores the concept of its own format.
Did you notice a lot of the references to the Black Mirror series throughout this?
I didn't catch them, but I know that they're there.
There's the big one, I think, is the Metalhead poster.
Yeah.
But there's other ones. That symbol you referred to earlier is from White Bear.
Oh,
that's the symbol that they wear on the masks in White Bear.
Oh, you're right. Okay, yeah, you're right.
That's kind of the joke there, is that he so the main character, this programmer, he's sitting at his computer and he's yelling to essentially the viewer, who's doing this? Who's behind this? And the option is Netflix or the White Bear image.
Right.
So again, yeah, like there's all these Black Mirror references peppered throughout the whole thing, which now that I'm actually sitting down and watching Black Mirror, I'm starting to get more of the references, but it's like, I really admire this project, man. I really do. I think
it's really, really impressive how cohesive the choice-based system is.
Mm-hmm.
Like they really tie together. Even if you pick the wrong choices, if you happen to pick the wrong choices consistently, it still kind of brings things back. And the way the narrative is structured, it explains why the bad choices you make still make sense.
Was the guy that created Black Mirror involved with this?
Yeah, he was.
Okay, that's good. That's really good.
Charlie Brooker.
You know what I just learned watching Black Mirror after I saw Bandersnatch over the weekend. So this week, I just learned Black Mirror was a Channel 4 British television show for 4 years.
Yeah,
I thought it was a Netflix. It wasn't a Netflix original, and I thought it was.
No, yeah. It was Channel 4 for a while before Netflix acquired it and started paying for new episodes. Like 1 or 2 seasons ago, I think.
Season 4, I think, is the only Netflix original.
Yes, I think you're right.
Yeah, that's something that Netflix has done a few times, sort of adopting shows, because Black Mirror probably would not have lasted another season if it weren't for Netflix.
Pick up Dirk Gently, you fucks. They're not going to.
And then divorce it from Max Landis somehow? I don't know.
There's a guy. That's a whole. I'm not even going to get into that. I'm not even going to get into that. It's possible. It's possible to do. However, so my question is, so like the guy that created Black Mirror, he seems to be like he's the showrunner. He's the guy that has the final say. He has the final say in all of these things.
He's a comedian.
Is he?
Yeah, Charlie Brooker. He's a comedian.
Okay. I mean, sometimes that show is funny. I watched.
It takes a comedian to come up with a concept as fucked up as debuting your series with an episode that's completely taken seriously, in which the prime minister has to fuck a pig.
I think we're on the same. We are on the same page, my friend. We are on the same page because I had heard mixed opinions about that episode, and then I watched it, and I was like, I get it. I completely get. Like it was like I'm seeing ones and zeros in the Matrix. Like I fucking got it, and I'm like, now I question why my friends don't get it, because I'm like, they play it like West Wing or some kind of like CSI terrorist attack type of thing. Like the tone of it is taken so seriously, but this dude has to fuck a pig on camera.
Exactly. That it's dead serious. And
I got it. I fucking got it. And it's great. And that's I've seen about 6 or 7 Black Mirror episodes now, and I'm kind of split. Like it is sort of hit and miss.
It is.
As any anthology series would be. And the problem, what makes it more difficult with Black Mirror is each episode is essentially a little movie. So
Bill, I'll get with you on chat on which ones you liked and which you didn't. I could help you find the ones that are really good. But yeah, I agree with you. Is like
I'll probably watch them all. I'm not, whatever. I'll probably watch them all.
I'm curious which ones you really liked and which ones you didn't, because I think you and I are probably around the same page in terms of which ones we did and did not like.
The reason the Twilight Zone worked so well is, yes, there's actually a great deal of bad Twilight Zone episodes, but the show was a half hour long, so it's so easy to forgive that, considering how many great short episodes there are too.
I'm going to put up a challenge right now, and that is since Hawk and I just pretty much reviewed Bandersnatch, like maybe like when we do the Oscar get together, I would hope that Bill A and Ken have watched it by then, and we can hear
I will
their
definitely
thoughts.
have watched it by then.
Okay. We should I think Bill, you pay for Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Give this a shot. give this a shot.
Right. You pay for Netflix.
Was the implication that like there's a way to not pay for Netflix?
Get somebody else's login.
Yeah.